Chapter 153. I looked at you, Xian. Obviously, she was very disappointed that nothing had happened between her and Duanmu, Quebec. I sneered and looked at her, saying, "You'll have a chance in the future. I'm going to divorce him in 2 days. At that time, you'll be able to get close to him. That way, you'll be closer to your ultimate goal." Yu Xian sighed and said, "Forget it, he doesn't have me in his heart. That day, when I saw him pull you away, I knew that he had you in his heart. I tried my best but nothing changed. So I gave up. That's it. I sincerely wish you two happiness together. I won't disturb your life anymore, so don't divorce him." I knew that although Yu Xian said that on the surface, she definitely didn't think that way in her heart. Even if he doesn't want a divorce, as long as I insist on a divorce, I still have a copy of the contract that he signed. It's useless even if he tears up his copy. Unless the copy in my hands is lost, then it's truly invalid. He probably planned this for a long time. Actually, if I stay by his side, it won't be good for anyone. You should be very clear about the stakes involved. I think in the entire Duanmu family, the only one who truly treats me well is probably only Xinyao. Although these words might hurt Dad and Mom, I'm not afraid to say it in front of you. This is the truth, you should understand. Yu Xian looked at me. She probably didn't think that I would tell her my inner thoughts so directly. Yu Xian was stunned. She looked at me and said, "I understand what you mean, but whether you divorce or not is your business. I've already completely given up on Duanmu Gij. Although my heart hurts, my intuition tells me that I'll never get him again." I looked at Yu Xian and said, "I don't think you should give up. You should be more persistent with Duanmu, Quebec. Don't you love him? If you love him, you should have him, right? He needs a woman like you who is devoted to him and can help him. You can definitely do that. I believe in you." Yu Xian looked at me and was even more stunned. She looked at me and said, "Don't you hate me the most? Why are you suddenly helping me now? I'm not used to you being like this." I let go of Yu Xian's hand and said with a smile, "I wish you two happiness." I patted Yu Xian's shoulder and turned to walk towards the door. As soon as I opened the door, Yu Xian called out from behind me, "Cold Glaze, you've forgiven me for what I did to you in the past, right?" I stopped at the door and didn't turn to look at her. I said softly, "I'm sorry, but I'll never forgive you for what you did to me. But I'm more assured that you'll treat Duanmu K very well. You'll take care of him wholeheartedly. So that's it. Other than this, you and I can never be friends." I walked out of Yu Xian's bedroom and closed the door behind me. I let out a sigh, and my agitated mood gradually calmed down. I walked towards Xian Yao's room. I didn't know how I got there. I knocked on Xian Yao's door. As soon as Xian Yao opened the door, I walked in and directly lay down on the bed. I hugged the pillow and couldn't help but cry. My actions scared everyone. No one knew what happened to me. Han Hao understood me. He didn't say anything and gently found a blanket to cover me. Then, he sat down beside me and gently stroked my hair. Xian Yao pushed Han Hao and softly asked, "Han Hao Gij, what happened to sister-in-law? Why did she cry when she came back? Did Yu Xian bully her?" "No. I'm going to find her." Suri pulled Xian Yao back and said, "Girl, don't get too excited. Milady wouldn't cry because of this. She must be feeling wronged. Don't think too much about it. Milady will tell us if she wants to talk about it." Han Hao turned to Xian Yao and Suri and said, "Little Xian Yao and Suri, you two go out for a walk. I'll stay with her for a while. When she's a bit better, I'll call you back." Han Hao gave Suri a look, and Suri immediately understood. He pulled Xian Yao out of the bedroom and probably went for a walk in the garden downstairs. After Xian Yao and Suri left, Han Hao looked at me lying on the bed and sighed softly. Little Snowball seemed to have felt something wrong with me. He walked around me and sniffed me from time to time. It seemed like he was worried about me. Han Hao reached out to hold my shoulder and said, "Shaoli, they're all gone. What happened? When we got out of the car, I felt that you weren't in a good mood. What happened? Can you tell me and let me share the burden with you?" I shook my head and didn't say anything. Little Snowball climbed onto my body and lay down. He looked at Han Hao and meowed twice. It seemed like Little Snowball didn't want Han Hao to ask me any more questions. Han Hao picked up little Snowball and held him in his arms. He looked at him and said, "Little Snowball, you don't want me to ask Xiaoli any more questions, right? Even if Xiaoli doesn't say anything, I know why she's so sad. She must have given up the man she loves to the woman she hates the most. She can't bear to part with him, but she has nowhere to vent. She can only bury all the pain deep in her heart. But little Snowball, do you know? I really want to walk into Xiaoli's heart because I love her too. Just like how she loves Xiao Ke. It's a deep love from the bottom of her heart." I didn't know why, but when I heard Han Hao say those words, I felt very sad. He was right. I loved Duanmuke a lot, and I did feel bad about giving Duanmuke to Yuexian. But when those words came out of Han Hao's mouth, it was like rubbing salt on my wound. It hurt so much that it tore my heart apart. I struggled to get up from the bed and sat in front of Han Hao. He was holding little Snowball and looking at me with a gentle gaze. Han Hao was holding little Snowball and looking at me with a smile. My heart melted in an instant. I threw myself into Han Hao's arms and hugged him tightly. I heard little Snowball meow. Han Hao said softly, "Be careful, don't crush little Snowball." I let go of Han Hao and wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes. Han Hao put little Snowball on the bed and reached out to gently wipe the tears from my face. Chapter 154. Han Hao looked at me affectionately and said, "Silly, why are you crying? I won't blame you. I know what you're thinking, and I understand the struggle in your heart. You don't have to worry about anything right now. All you need to know is that from now on, you belong to me, Han Hao. You don't have to worry about anything else. I'll be by your side for the next few days." Han Hao held me in his arms, and I reached out to hug him tightly. Han Hao gently stroked my hair and said, "All right, don't cry. Haven't I been here all this time? If there's anything that makes you unhappy, you have to tell me. If you can't hold it in, it won't be good for your body, and it won't be good for the baby in your belly. Do you understand?" Han Hao kissed my forehead. I leaned into Han Hao's arms and said softly, "Lie down with me for a while. I'm so tired. I feel like after I say everything I want to say, I can't take it anymore, okay?" Han Hao looked at me and said, "I can accompany you, but it's not appropriate to do it in Xinyao's room. Besides, it's not appropriate to do it in Duanmu's house either. Although you and Xiao Ke have already agreed to divorce, isn't it still not appropriate to do it?" I sighed and said, "All right." I was still lying in Han Hao's arms. It really wasn't appropriate. After all, this place didn't just belong to the two of us. I let go of his arms and lay down on the bed. I turned around and picked up Snowball. I held him in my arms and played with him. My mind was full of what Duanmuke had said to me. Han Hao sat next to me. He gently tucked me in and sat down next to me. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't know how to tell him, so I chose to remain silent. Silence was the best way for me to escape from this situation. For the next 2 days, it was very peaceful at Duanmu's house. Everyone treated me very well. Even Yuexian's attitude towards me was completely different from before. I used my weak body as an excuse and didn't eat with everyone. It was always Xinyao or Suri who served me. A few days ago, I ate the food that Duanmuke had cooked for me. I had a good appetite, but I didn't know why I suddenly couldn't eat anything. After tonight, it would be the day of the divorce. I hadn't seen Duanmuke at the Duanmu's house for a few days. It seemed that he had really disappeared. He was really going to appear in front of me tomorrow. My heart gradually calmed down. I just wanted to spend the night peacefully and complete the big thing that I had to do tomorrow. After dinner at night, I rejected everyone's request and took a walk in the empty garden alone. Under the starry sky, I walked on the path in the garden and unknowingly walked to the rose garden that used to be. It was still as bare as before. Other than the rattan chair that was still there, everything else was gone. I touched the rattan chair gently and felt its coldness. Maybe it couldn't bear to part with me. After all, it was something that had witnessed the love between Duanmuke and me. It carried a lot of my memories. My heart was very cold, so cold that it was close to freezing point. Just as I was thinking about the past in a daze, my phone suddenly rang. I took out my phone and saw that it was Xinyao. I picked up her call. "Little Xinyao, what's wrong?" What's the matter? Xinyao's anxious voice came from the other side of the phone. She said with a sobbing tone, Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law. My brother disappeared. What should I do? Listening to Xinyao's words, my heart trembled. I hurriedly asked, What's going on? Didn't he say that he would disappear for 2 days? He should be fine. Xinyao cried and said, Sister-in-law, it's not like that. For the past few days, my brother has been staying at his friend's house. While they were drinking at the bar, they had a conflict with the table next to them. However, it was resolved. They just had a few words and didn't fight. When they saw that the matter was resolved, my brother's friends went to the bathroom. But when they returned, my brother was gone. He didn't take his phone with him, and left a note with the words, We took Duanmuke away. His friends had no choice but to call me. Sister-in-law, what should we do? I'm still worried that something might have happened to my brother. After listening to Xinyao's story, I was stunned. I thought for a moment and said, Xinyao, don't worry. Don't tell Dad and Mom about this. Does Han Hao know about this? You can contact him and tell him that I'm in the garden. I'm going out to find him. If there's anything, I'll call him. I thought for a moment and dialed Suri's number. Suri, did you hear that Duanmuke was taken away? You don't need to worry about anything else right now. Call Uncle Bai and ask him to investigate who took Duanmuke away. After that, stay with Xinyao and protect her. If there's any news, inform me immediately. I'm going out now. I'm going to find him first. If there's anything, call him. I hung up the phone and walked to the door. My car was parked in a parking space near the entrance. I quickly drove to the bar that Xinyao had described to me. As soon as I arrived at the bar, I pushed the door open and entered. A waiter greeted me warmly. Hello, Mississippi. How may I help you? I glanced at him and took out a bill from my bag and stuffed it into his hand. I'm not going to beat around the bush with you. Don't beat around the bush with me. Who took Duanmuke away? The waiter took the bill and looked at me. Miss Lung, you're a smart person. Young Master K drank a bit too much. He and a few of his buddies had a conflict with the table next door. Later, when they saw that young Master K was alone, they asked him to go out and have a duel. Young Master K was the one who paid the bill for the table next door. I glanced at him and took out another bill from my bag and handed it to him. Where did they take him? The waiter took the bill and smiled. Those people often come to the bar. We know them more or less. They're some of the hooligans in the neighborhood. Maybe they couldn't stand young Master K's arrogance. Don't talk nonsense. Where did they take Duanmuke? I glared at him. He was so scared that he trembled and took a step back. The waiter said quietly, They took them to the basketball court 2 streets away. That's their base. I glared at him and turned to leave the bar. As soon as I left the bar, I received a call from Suri. Suri said, Miss, we've already investigated. They're just some hooligans. They don't have any background, and they're not our people. How do you want to deal with this? I'm on my way there. Arrange for a few people to come over. I can't move right now. I hung up the phone with complicated feelings. Chapter 155. I arrived at the basketball court the waiter had told me about. From a distance, I could see a few people standing in the corner of the court. It looked like a person was lying under their feet. I thought, could it be Duanmuke? I quickened my pace and walked into the court, walking towards them. I walked closer and saw that they were gangsters. The person lying on the ground was Duanmuke. His body was dirty, and his face was stained with blood. It looked like he had been beaten up by them. I clenched my fists and looked at them. They were still standing there, pointing at Duanmuke and saying something. I calmed myself down and clenched my fists. I looked at them and said loudly, Hey, move out of the way. My voice was very loud, and they all turned to look at me. One of them walked up to me and looked at me from head to toe. Then he looked at me and said, Hey, who are you? What's up? Take the initiative to throw yourself into our arms. Then he reached out his hand to touch my face. I flung his hand away and took out a wad of money from my bag. I looked at him and said, Take the money and let him go. The man smiled at me and took the money. He turned to look at his brothers behind him and said, See? He knows what he's doing. Divide the money among the brothers. He threw the money to one of the men behind him, and distributed the money I gave him to the other brothers. I looked at the man and said, "Can you let him go now?" The man turned to look at me and sneered. "Wait a minute. The money you gave me is just enough to pay for my brothers and me. As for the ransom," he smiled at me and said, "it's still far from enough." I understood that they were obviously asking for money. I thought for a moment. I didn't have any cash on me. The banks were closed at this time, and the ATM machines were limited. I looked at him and said, "How about this? Give me a number and an account number. I'll call you tomorrow. Is that okay? Is that okay?" The man said, "Young lady, I thought you understood this. After all this time, you still don't understand. Do you think I'll believe that you'll give me money? Don't be ridiculous." He sneered. I looked at him and asked, "Do you know who you kidnapped?" He smiled and said, "Who is it? We don't care who it is. As long as we can get the money, it's all the same to us." "I really don't have that much cash on me," I said. "I'll give it to you tomorrow, but you won't agree." I wondered why Suri hadn't arrived yet. I'd sent him the coordinates, so he should be here soon. I couldn't do anything in my current body, so I could only stall for time. The man took another step forward. In a low voice he said, "Why don't you spend the night with me, as an advance payment? What do you think?" "Chick." The man reached for me again. I took a step back, and the man walked towards me again. Just when I didn't know what was wrong, I heard a voice. "Don't touch her." A heavy fist landed on the face of the man who was approaching me. I was stunned. When I came back to my senses, I saw that it was Duan Muke who had saved me. He grabbed the man tightly and started to tear him apart. The surrounding people were stunned at first. Then, they grabbed Duan Muke and started to punch and kick him again. Duan Muke's face was red with anger. His face was red with anger. I screamed, "Don't fight anymore. I'll call the police if you continue." However, none of them paid attention to me. Looking at Duan Muke's pained expression, my heart ached. I didn't know what to do. Just when I was panicking, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw Suri leading a group of people into the basketball court. Suri ran to my side and patted my shoulder. "I'm going to save Duan Mukwebek. You take him away quickly." Suri jumped from my side and kicked a person. Then a scuffle ensued. Suri brought Duan Muke out of the crowd. He brought Duan Muke in front of me and said, "Young lady, you should leave quickly." Then, he handed Duan Muke to me and turned around to join the scuffle. I supported Duan Mukwebek. He was already very weak. I looked around and saw that everyone was fighting. I thought for a moment and decided that it was best to take Duan Muke to a safe place first. Of course, we couldn't go back to Duan Mu's house yet. If Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fingyao found out, they would definitely be worried. We couldn't go back to my house either. Things would get out of hand. I thought for a moment and decided to find a good hotel nearby to rest for the night. I took him to a hotel and arranged a room. I brought Duan Muke into the room. I saw that his body was dirty and covered with wounds. I had no other choice but to treat his wounds. I took off his clothes and called the waiter to arrange a cleaning. I also asked for a set of medical alcohol cotton balls to clean his wounds. The Duan Muke was lying on the bed with his eyes closed. His brows were tightly knitted, and his expression was one of pain. I looked at the wounds on his body. There were many bruises and abrasions. My heart ached. I went to the bathroom and wet a towel. I returned to his side and gently wiped his body. His expression was still very painful. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead, and tears fell from my eyes. Looking at him like this, I felt very bad. After wiping him clean, I began to disinfect his wound. As soon as the alcohol cotton touched his wound, he cried out in pain. He reached out and tightly grabbed my hand. I was so scared that I shivered. He didn't say anything. He just tightly grabbed my hand and let out a painful groan. I understood that when the alcohol cotton touched his wound, it must have caused him to feel uncomfortable. I gently touched Duan Muke's face and looked at him, saying, "Little K, don't be afraid. I'm just treating your wound. It'll be fine in a while. Bear with it for a while, it might hurt a bit. Once I'm done treating it, it won't hurt as much anymore. Just bear with it for a while, okay?" I comforted him, but I didn't know if he could hear me. Perhaps he heard my words, because he gradually let go of my hand. I continued to treat his wounds. Although there was some pain, he endured it with great difficulty. His expression was very painful, and his forehead was sweating. I treated his wounds while wiping his sweat. Finally, I finished treating his wounds. I sat next to him and let out a long sigh. I turned my head to look at him. His expression wasn't as painful as before. I was afraid that he would catch a cold, so I took the blanket and gently covered him. I looked at Duanmukei's closed eyes and sleeping appearance. Chapter 156. It was hard to imagine that we would be divorced the next day. I used to love him so much, but now we were facing the moment of separation. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't know how long I had slept, but I suddenly felt someone touching my head. This feeling grew stronger and stronger, and it didn't feel like a dream. I immediately woke up. I raised my head and saw Duanmukei looking at me with his eyes wide open. His hand stopped in midair. It turned out he was touching my hair. I sighed and patted my chest lightly. You scared me to death. I thought it was those people who rushed in. Duanmukei lay on the bed and looked at me. His expression was gentle. I came back to my senses and looked at him. Are you thirsty? I forgot. Let me get you some water. I picked up the glass and poured Duanmukei a glass of water. Then I helped him up. He held the glass and drank it in a few gulps. It seemed he was really thirsty. I looked at him and asked, Do you want another glass? Duanmukei looked at me and shook his head. I put the glass aside and placed a pillow behind his back. Duanmukei looked at me and asked, How long did I sleep? I looked at him and said, You didn't sleep for long. Does your wound still hurt? There aren't many things here. And I didn't dare to take you to the hospital. If someone took advantage of the situation, I wouldn't be able to protect you. Duanmukei looked at me and sneered. Thank you. And I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble and made you worry. I smiled and shook my head. Just then my phone rang. I took it out and saw that it was Suri. I answered the call. Suri, how's it going? Don't worry, Miss Xiao. Those hooligans aren't our opponents. I didn't hand them over to the police. I directly went to the Red Minghui and interrogated them. They said that it was because of the conflict in the bar that they thought of kidnapping. At first, they just wanted to beat them up and rob them. But since Miss Xiao was there, they wanted to extort more money. They didn't know that they were provoking the Red Minghui's miss and the Kurosawa's young master. When they found out, their legs turned to jelly, said Suri. It's good that you've dealt with them. Where are they now? They're still locked up by the Red Minghui. They're clamoring to turn themselves in at the police station. But Uncle Bai decisively refused. Uncle Bai said that bullying Miss Xiao is going against the Red Minghui, and he absolutely won't hand them over to the police. Oh right. Uncle Bai asked if we should get rid of them. I thought for a moment and looked at Duanmukei. Then I said into the phone, No need. Tell Uncle Bai to let them go after threatening them. But don't let them call the police. Xiaokei and I are outside right now. I didn't tell the Duanmu's family about this. And you don't need to tell my parents. Just let us know. All right. I have something I need to trouble you to tell Xinyao and Han Hao that I won't be going back home today. Xiaokei and I will be staying outside for the night. I looked at Duanmukei, my face a little red. Okay, I got it. Suri hung up the phone. I sighed. It seemed that the matter had been resolved. I didn't need to worry anymore. I looked at Duanmukei and smiled at him. You don't need to worry. Suri has already dealt with those people who had a conflict with you. You should have a good rest tonight. Tomorrow, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle the procedures. Duanmukei looked at me with a solemn expression. Duanmukei looked at me. Why do you still care about me? It's enough that you let me get beaten up there. Why do you have to save me? I didn't look at Duanmukei and answered softly. I don't know. When I heard from Xinyao that something had happened to you, I couldn't help but run over to find you. When I saw that you were in danger, I was very worried. Now that I see that you're in good condition, I feel that my mission has been accomplished. No matter what, you have to take care of your body. You still have your family, your brothers and your friends. You have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders, so you must live well. Duanmukei suddenly pulled me into his embrace. You'll stay with me tonight, right? He whispered. I leaned into Duanmukei's embrace, but I didn't know how to answer. Duanmuke whispered to me. Today is the last time we'll be together. Promise to stay with me, okay? I heard Duanmuke's heartbeat. It was very fast. I thought for a moment and nodded. I lay in Duanmuke's embrace. He leaned against the headboard and hugged me tightly. He gently stroked my hair, but didn't say a word. I listened to his heartbeat and asked softly, "Does your wound still hurt?" Duanmuke stroked my hair. "It doesn't hurt anymore. It's just that." "Just what?" "It's just that you're wearing clothes, and I don't feel comfortable hugging you. Can you take them off?" Duanmuke looked at me as he spoke. My face heated up, and I didn't know what to do. Before I could react, Duanmuke had already started taking off my clothes. I didn't even have time to struggle before Duanmuke stripped me naked. I subconsciously grabbed the blanket to cover myself. Duanmuke looked at me and smiled. He snatched the blanket from my hands and hugged me again. My heart was beating very fast. I thought for a moment, and decided to find a topic to talk about. I had to think of a way to change Duanmuke's mind. What if he wanted to do something to me again? I asked softly. "Where have you been for the past 2 days?" Duanmuke hugged me and said, "I've been staying at my brother's place for the past 2 days. During the day, I stayed at my brother's place. At night, we went to the nightclub. There wasn't much to do. My brothers knew that I was going to get a divorce, so they put down what they were doing and came to accompany me. I've been feeling better these past few days, but I didn't expect something like that to happen tonight. I was really surprised. It wasn't an accident, right? You've been holding it in for a long time, and you've been looking for a place to vent it. But you didn't have a place to do so. That thing happened, and all your resentment exploded. That's why you ended up like this. You just didn't think that you would get hurt, and that you, Duanmuke, would be bullied by others." I leaned against his chest. Duanmuke sneered. "You're probably right. I don't know how to get rid of it. I've been drinking every day for the past 2 days, but it didn't give me any relief. My heart was still in a mess. Until I saw you, I calmed down. Now, I don't want to think about anything else. I just want to hold you like this forever. Don't be so impulsive in the future. Those people didn't know that you were Duanmuke, so they didn't dare to touch you. Next time when you go out, bring more people with you. Drink less. Don't drink so much, and it's easy to get into trouble after drinking." Chapter 157. Duanmuke hugged me tightly and said softly, "My brothers always say that a woman is a burden after marriage, but it's different from what they say. No one around me has ever said that to me like you, not even my parents. They never care about my affairs." I lowered my head and thought for a moment. "There will be more in the future," I said. Duanmuke seemed to be stunned. As soon as I finished speaking, I regretted it. I really had touched a sore spot. Duanmuke sighed. He looked at me and said, "There may be one in the future, but it won't be you." I sat up in his arms and looked at him. I didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "Yu Xian is very good to you. She has always loved you. She also wants to be with you. I think she is the most suitable person to be by your side. You can consider her." Duanmuke sighed. He sat up and pressed me down on the bed with both hands. Before I could react, he was already on top of me. He looked at me and caressed my face gently with a doting expression. He said to me, "Tonight only belongs to the two of us. Can you not mention anyone else? Yu Xian can't, Xinyao can't, Suri can't, and Hanhao can't. Anyway, besides me and you can't mention anyone else." Duanmuke's sudden pretentiousness made me confused. I looked at his serious expression and didn't know what to do. Duanmuke seemed to see my helplessness. He cupped my face and gently kissed my lips. His other hand began to caress my body without restraint. I subconsciously grabbed his hand tightly. Duanmuke raised his head and looked at me. He stroked my hair and said, "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Okay." I shook my head hard and looked at Duanmuke. "No, Xiaoke, don't touch me. I don't feel good." I found an excuse to fool Duanmuke, but it was obvious that it didn't work. Duanmuke looked at me with disdain. I was helpless, but I couldn't think of any reason to reject him. Duanmuke looked at me and said softly, "Don't be afraid. I promise I will be gentle." He lowered his head and kissed my lips again. This time, I didn't reject him. He stroked my body gently, and I didn't reject him either. Just like before, when I had sex with him, I decided to boldly indulge myself and open my heart. Just like Duan Muke said this night, it was just me and him. There was no one else between us. I wanted to be with him. I wanted to return to the time when I loved him deeply and only loved him. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. Duan Muke saw that I didn't reject him anymore. He sat up and hugged me. I sat on top of him. He looked at me and stroked my hair gently. He smiled and said, "Cold Glaze, I have really fallen in love with you. If you are pregnant with my child after this night, please tell me. As long as you are willing, I am willing to be responsible for you for the rest of my life." Duan Muke kissed my lips and hugged me tightly. I felt his intense kiss, which made me nervous, but I didn't reject him. The night passed quickly. I didn't know how long we had been going at it. When we were both tired, I lay on Duan Muke's body and listened to his strong heartbeat. Duan Muke gently stroked my hair and said, "You must be tired. It's my fault. I couldn't control myself. Did I hurt you?" I touched the red spot where Duan Muke had pinched my arm. With a dark expression, I sighed and shook my head, softly saying, "It's not your fault. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. It's already past 12 o'clock. Hurry up and rest. Your body is still weak." Duan Muke hugged me and gently patted my back. I'm already very satisfied. Tonight was the happiest night of my life. I feel very comfortable. I raised my head and looked at him. "You must have indulged too much. That's why you feel so comfortable." Duan Muke hugged me and smiled. "That's just one of the reasons. The main reason is because I have you. I don't care about anything else. But it's too late to say anything now. When the sun rises, I will lose you." I suddenly feel very reluctant. What should I do? I didn't know what to say. I could only lie quietly in Duan Muke's arms and feel the lingering warmth of indulgence. Duan Muke and I didn't talk anymore. I lay in his arms and fell asleep. It was a deep sleep, but it was a good sleep. In a daze, I felt Duan Muke turn around and hug me. I leaned against his chest and felt his warmth. I kept thinking that it would be great if I could turn back time. That way, I could return to the happiest time I had with Duan Muquebec. When I woke up, Duan Muke was on top of me. He looked at me and gently played with my hair. When he saw that I was awake, he immediately kissed my lips. Then he looked at me and smiled. "Good morning." I rubbed my eyes. I still hadn't woken up. I looked at Duan Muke with a confused face. Looking at his smile, I smiled too. I held his face and kissed him gently on the lips. Duan Muke was stunned at first. Then, he looked at me and stroked my hair, smiling brightly. I turned to look out the window. The sun was high in the sky. I turned back to Duan Muke and said, "It's late. We should get down to business." I got up from the bed and sat there looking at Duan Muquebec. He looked disappointed. I gently patted Duan Muke's back and said, "Don't be like this. Didn't we agree that everything will be fine? Everything's going to be okay. Take it easy. Let's go." I reached out and hugged him tightly. Duan Muke turned around and hugged me. I could feel his disappointment. He hugged me and said softly, "Okay, pack up. Let's go." Duan Muke and I packed up and left the hotel. The two of us drove to the Civil Affairs Bureau. We didn't talk on the way. I knew that he couldn't bear to part with me, and I couldn't bear to part with him either. However, I couldn't get over the hurdle in my heart. I decided to divorce him. When we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Xinyao, Suri, and Han Hao were already there. We parked the car and got out. Xinyao ran to me. She held my hand and said sadly, "Sister-in-law, were you and my brother okay yesterday? Are you sure you want a divorce? I can't bear to part with you. What about you? Don't divorce, okay? If you leave, there will be no one to talk to in this family." Chapter 158. I looked at Xi and Yao and smiled. The two of us spent the night outside. Besides your brother's injuries, nothing else happened. Oh right, Mom and Dad don't know about what happened last night, do they? Xi and Yao shook her head. Mom and Dad don't know. I didn't tell them. My brother is always away, so they're used to it. Xi and Yao leaned in close to my ear and smirked. Sister-in-law, did something happen between you and my brother last night? I blushed. Naughty girl, what are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense. My eyes swept over to Han Hao. His expression wasn't good. It seemed he already knew about what happened last night. He probably also knew that I didn't go home last night, because I was with the Douamu Quebec. My heart suddenly felt uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to tell him. Han Hao walked in front of me. Looking at me, he said to Xianyao, Xianyao, I want to talk to Shaoli. You go over there first. Xianyao nodded and left. I looked at Han Hao. I knew what he wanted to say to me. I wanted to take the initiative to speak, but I didn't know how to. As soon as I opened my mouth, Han Hao looked at me and said, I don't care what happened between you and the Douamu K last night. From today onwards, as long as you two sign the divorce agreement, you are my woman. I've already brought the household register. If you're willing, we can get a marriage certificate today. But I won't force you. You just have to remember that from now on you are mine. Listening to Han Hao's hegemony, I didn't know what to do. Han Hao looked at me and gently stroked my hair. Don't worry. I'm just thinking about how you spent the night with him last night makes me uncomfortable. Hurry up and get the paperwork done. If you're any later, they'll take their lunch break. I smiled at Han Hao and nodded. Then I walked over to Douamu Quebec. Douamu K looked at me and said, Let's go. I nodded. Douamu K and I went to the registration hall. The staff member started to process the paperwork for us. Douamu K sat next to me. He held my hand tightly, but didn't say a word. The staff member looked at the two of us and said, It's really strange. This is the first time I've seen two people holding hands in a divorce. Douamu K glared at him, and the man didn't say anything else. After a while, the staff member looked at me and Douamu K and asked, Are you sure you want a divorce? If it's confirmed, I'll put my stamp on it, and it'll take effect immediately. You can't go back on your word. You two should think about it carefully. Before I could open my mouth, Douamu K stepped in front of me and said, I've thought it through. Let's cover it. The man turned and looked at me again. What about you? Have you thought it through? I turned and looked at Douamu Quebec. He lowered his head and didn't look at me. I nodded, disappointed. The staff member directly stamped the divorce certificate. He handed it to us and said, It's done. Let me give you two some advice. I feel that you two love each other very much. If it's because of some trivial matter, there's really no need for two loving people to divorce. So if you think it through, it's still possible to get married again. I smiled at the staff member, then followed Douamu K out of the reception hall. The two of us arrived at the door. Douamu K looked at me with the certificate in his hand. His eyes had turned red. He pulled my hand and hugged me tightly in his arms. In a soft voice he said, Shaoli, you don't belong to me anymore. Although I'm very sad, I've made a big decision. I've decided. From now on, I want to officially pursue you. I want to use my own efforts to pursue you. Although I don't know if I can recover the memories of when we were together. Please allow me to use my own abilities to pursue you. After saying that, Douamu K kissed me gently on the cheek and left. Douamu K looked at Han Hao and said, Little Hao, you can pursue Little Li. Now that I'm single, I also have the right to pursue Little Li. I want to compete fairly with you, and I hope you can accept. I'm very confident that I can pursue Little Li. Don't worry. I won't use any special methods. If I say fair competition, then fair competition is fair competition. Also, I may have treated you poorly in the past, so I hope you won't lower yourself to my level. I'm sorry. After saying this, Douamu K patted Han Hao's shoulder and left. I walked to Han Hao's side and looked at him. Han Hao first smiled, then looked at me and said, Xiao K has changed. In the past, he would never put so much effort into doing something. It seems like you've influenced him greatly. I looked at Douamu K's figure and said softly, He really has changed. If his violent nature is his nature, then his gentle nature should be his heart. Looking at his figure, I felt very sad. But after hearing Douamu K's words, my heart felt very warm. Perhaps this was the life I had been looking forward to. Han Hao looked at me and said, What do you plan to do next? I thought for a moment, then called Xinyao and Suri over. I looked at Suri and asked, Have you finished packing my luggage from Dwanmu's house? Suri looked at me and said, Young lady, it's all packed. Before I left, I brought it in the car. What car? I looked at Suri with a puzzled expression. At this time, Xinyao rushed in front of me. She looked at me and said, Sister-in-law, don't blame him. I felt that it was inconvenient for him to go out without a vehicle. So I bought him a car. Sister-in-law, you can pack me up and take me with you. Looking at Xinyao's pitiful appearance, I gently stroked her hair and said, You and Suri should be fine. I'll pay for Suri's car. What do you want as compensation? Sister-in-law will buy it for you. You still have very important things to do. You need to take care of Dad and Mom. Xiaokei's work is too busy. Only a caring daughter like you can take care of them. Xinyao looked at me and nodded helplessly. Han Hao looked at me and said, What are you going to do next? You haven't told me yet. I reached out and touched my belly. Looking in the direction where Duanmu Kei's figure had disappeared, I softly said, I'm going to go home and tell Dad and Mom. Then I want to go back to America and give birth to the child. What? Heavens! Sister-in-law, you're pregnant? When did this happen? Why didn't you tell me? If you told me, we wouldn't have gotten a divorce. Does my brother know about this? No, he shouldn't know. If he knew, he wouldn't have agreed to the divorce. Xinyao stared at me in disbelief. Chapter 159. I looked at Xinyao and patted her head. This is a secret. You absolutely cannot tell your brother. You've been pregnant for more than 2 months, so divorce is inevitable. It has nothing to do with whether you're pregnant or not. But you can't let him know. If he knows, he'll feel burdened. Originally, this matter shouldn't be known to anyone in the Duanmu family, but you are an exception. I believe that you won't betray me. I smiled at Xinyao, waiting for her reply. Xinyao eyes rolled, and then she hugged my arm. Sister-in-law, don't worry. I won't tell anyone. I'm also looking forward to the birth of this baby. Then I can be an aunt. Aya, just thinking about it makes me feel very happy. Han Hao walked in front of Xinyao. Looking at Xinyao, he said unhappily, Can you stop calling her sister-in-law? She already divorced your brother. Now she's alone. You're making me unhappy. Han Hao looked at Xinyao and bluntly said his true thoughts. Xinyao looked at Han Hao and froze for a moment. Then she laughed and said, Haha, Gij Han Hao, you're jealous. It's not wrong for me to call her sister-in-law. If she's with you, won't I have to call her sister-in-law? Okay, if you don't want to listen, I'll call her Jiejia. Don't be angry. Your angry face is so weird. It's so funny. After saying that, Xinyao couldn't help but laugh again. Han Hao's face turned red. He looked at Xinyao with a weird expression. I also couldn't help but laugh. Han Hao looked at me and also laughed. He helplessly shook his head. The few of us stood in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau and laughed. After that, Suri and Xinyao left. The two of them said that they were going to pick up Suri's little sister from the hospital. Then they would take Xinyao back to the Duanmu family. Finally, Suri would take his little sister back to my house. Han Hao took me back to my house first. Han Hao drove very slowly. He was focused on driving and didn't look at me. But I knew he had a lot of questions to ask me. I looked at Han Hao's side profile. My heart was in a mess. I wanted to ask him something, but I didn't know what to say. After thinking about it, I looked at Han Hao and said, Thank you for your hard work. You came all the way here to pick me up. Thank you. Han Hao didn't look at me. He just said coldly, Next time, don't thank me for something like this. It's what I should do. As your soon-to-be boyfriend, it's my duty to escort you home safely. So next time, don't thank me for something like this. I'll feel like you're treating me like an outsider. Hearing Han Hao say that, I almost choked. He was also a hegemonist. It seemed I had to pay more attention to what I did in the future. If I didn't treat myself well, he would be very angry and scold me. It was hard to imagine that kind of scene. I lowered my head and said softly, I know. I won't say it next time. Han Hao looked at me, and his tone became gentle. He said, It's good that you understand. Don't make me feel like there's too much distance between us. I really want to stay by your side and take care of you. I hope you won't resist. I sighed and looked at Han Hao. I know how you feel about me. I won't make you unhappy. Hee hee. I smiled at Han Hao. He looked at my silly smile and gently rubbed my head. Then he focused on driving. The two of us drove for a while until we finally arrived at my house. From a distance, I saw a car parked in front of my house. It looked very familiar. Just as I was wondering whose car it was, Han Hao furrowed his brows. Why is Xiao Kei's car here? I suddenly remembered that it was Xiao Kei's car. Why was his car parked in front of my house? Puzzled, I got out of the car and walked into my house. As soon as I entered the living room, I saw Duanmu Kei sitting on the sofa. He was talking to my parents about something. I was a little worried, so I quickly walked to his side. I looked at him and asked softly, Xiao Kei, why are you here? Duanmu Kei turned around to look at me. Then he stood up. He looked at my parents and said, Dad, Mom, I know I've already filed for divorce with Xiaoli, but please believe me, I will get her back. I apologize to you for the many things I've done to her in the past that hurt her. But please believe me, as long as Xiaoli is with me, I will definitely give her happiness, I promise you. I promise. Before I could open my mouth, Han Hao walked in from outside. He looked at Duanmu Kei, then at me. Then he looked at my parents and said, Uncle, Auntie, I've decided to be with Xiaoli. Xiaoli hasn't rejected me. I hope you can allow me to be with Xiaoli. I'll make her happy. I'll always be with her. I'll never let her get hurt. I didn't know why, but Han Hao's last sentence sounded like he was talking to Duanmu Quebec. After Han Hao finished speaking, he looked at Duanmu Quebec. The two of them looked like they were about to start a war. Obviously, my parents were stunned by Duanmu Kei and Han Hao's words. They looked at each other, and then looked at me at the same time. It seemed like they were asking me how to solve this situation. My heart was also in a mess. I didn't understand how these two people could appear in my house so coincidentally. They appeared in front of my parents and even said the same thing. Were they trying to drive me or my parents crazy? Seeing that my parents didn't know what to do, the atmosphere became more and more awkward. I thought for a moment and looked at Han Hao. Then, I said to Duanmu Kei, Xiao Kei, you should go back first. There are still a lot of things you need to deal with in Kurosawa. Mom and Dad also need you. You should go back first. Duanmu Kei looked at me. His eyes told me that he didn't want to go. Then, I looked at Han Hao and said, Xiao Hao, thank you for taking me home. You've been busy all morning. The Kurosawa also needs you. You should go back first. I want to stay with my parents for a while and talk. You should all go back first. Han Hao and Duanmu Kei looked at each other. They obviously didn't want to back down, but I didn't know how to persuade them. In the end, it was Han Hao who spoke first. He looked at me and said, Xiaoli, you should rest first. He took out a bag from behind his back. It seemed to be filled with snacks. He handed the bag to me and said, These are all your favorite snacks. Eat them when you're bored. They can relieve your mood. I'll go first. Goodbye, Uncle and Auntie. Han Hao said goodbye to me and my parents and turned to leave. Before he left, he looked at Duanmu Kei and signaled for him to leave with him. Chapter 160. Duanmu Kei looked at Han Hao, then at my parents. Dad, Mom, I'm leaving too. Then he took out a bank card from his shirt pocket and placed it on the table. This is a small token of my appreciation. Dad, Mom, and Xiaoli can take it. I'm leaving, but I'll come visit again. With that, Duanmu Kei turned and left. Watching the two of them leave, I shook my head helplessly. At this time, my mother walked to my side. She took my hand and said, Li Er, you're back. I didn't even have time to talk to you before those two kids knocked me out. I held my mother's hand and looked at her. Mom, how long has Xiao Kei been here? My mother looked at the time, then at me. He's been here for a while, and he's told us a lot about his time with you. He also admitted to his mistakes, and said that he shouldn't have treated you that way. His attitude was very sincere. I saw that he was sincerely apologizing, so I let him sit down. But I didn't expect that he would start talking about pursuing you again, and that he would rely on his own abilities to win you over. Your father and I were confused, and we didn't know what he meant. Your father don't know what to do. I sighed and looked at my mother. Mom, it's okay. Just let him be. I might have to stay by your side for a while. You and Dad won't dislike me, right? I looked at my mother and smiled. My mother shook her head and touched my belly. How could we? Your father and I have been waiting for you to come back. How's the baby? I heard from Dwanmuke that you went out with him last night. Did you have sex? How could you not know how to control yourself? What if you hurt the baby? Hearing my mother say that, I cursed Dwanmuke in my heart. That idiot, even running over to my parents to tell on me. I smiled and looked at my mother. Mom, it's okay. The baby is healthy. I looked it up on the internet. It's okay to have sex with the baby. He wasn't too rough and was quite gentle. He didn't hurt me. My mother nodded. That's good. Do you want to go upstairs and rest for a while? I've already prepared a room for you. Are you hungry? I'll get you something to eat. I took her hand and sat down on the sofa. I looked at her and said, Mom, don't be busy. I'm coming home, not a guest. I can do it myself. You and Dad can sit down and chat with me. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I miss you. I leaned on her shoulder, and she gently stroked my hair. I lifted my head to look at my father. His expression was solemn. It seemed he was upset. I looked at him and asked, Dad, what's wrong? Is there something that makes you unhappy? My father looked at me and said, Li'er, it's not that I want to scold you, but you just finished the divorce procedures. Why are you directly coming to propose marriage? Also tell me, who do you like? If you like Han Hao and want to marry him, I'm prepared to withdraw all of my shares in the Dwanmu family. This is also a kind of protection for you and our family. I looked at my father, and he brought up a question I didn't want to think about. I sighed, and was just about to answer when my mother seemed to see that I was unhappy. She looked at my father and said, Dad, the child just came back, and you're already asking this and that. This is a home, not a company. Don't talk about your career at home. I don't want to hear about it. Also, the child is pregnant, and she was injured a while ago. Her body is weak. Why are you talking about her like that? Is she still your biological child? If someone wants to pursue Li'er, then let him. That proves that our Li'er is very charming. What are you afraid of? No matter if it's Xiao Ke or Xiao Hao, to be honest, won't they all help your career? Don't say so much. If I hear you say such things to Li'er again, don't blame me for falling out with you. My father was stunned by my mother's words. He sat there in a daze looking at my mother and me. For a moment he didn't know what to say. After a while, my father shook his head. He looked at my mother and said, Forget it, forget it. I'm afraid you'll throw a tantrum at me. I'll do as you say. I don't care. I'm going to the study to read. Then he stood up and walked to the study. My mother looked as if she had won a battle. She looked at my father's back and said, Go. I've put the medicine on your table. Remember to take it. I'll call you when it's time for dinner. After my father walked into the study, my mother turned to look at me and said, Li'er, don't listen to your father. He never thinks before he speaks. It's not like you don't know that. He doesn't mean it. Just stay at home. Mom will take care of you. My mother gently patted my back. My heart felt warm. With such a warm embrace, my heart didn't feel so cold anymore. After chatting with my mother for a while, I went upstairs to rest. When I returned to my own bedroom, I recalled the time when Dwanmuke had come to my house to accompany me during my confinement period. It was just like what had happened not too long ago. However, things had remained the same, but the people had changed. Now I was the only one left here. My heart no longer had the worries that I yearned for day and night. Instead, it was empty. I thought of the question my father had asked me. Who do I like? Who do I want to choose? Actually, I didn't know. Every time I faced this question, my heart would be in a mess. It was so messy that I couldn't breathe. But I still didn't know who I should choose. I decided not to think about it anymore. My most important task now was to take care of the baby and give birth to him. He had become my only hope. I lay on the bed and took a nap. It wasn't until the nanny came upstairs and knocked on the door to tell me that it was time to go downstairs for dinner that I reluctantly got up from the bed. I tidied up and walked out of the bedroom. I walked to the dining room. Before I even reached the dining room, I felt an awkward atmosphere in the living room. It was a strange atmosphere. At this moment, I bumped into Suri. I called Suri over and asked him in a low voice, Suri, Don't you feel like there's a smell of gunpowder in the air? Why is it so strange? Suri shook his head helplessly. Miss, how can you not feel strange? Those who should come, and those who shouldn't come are all here. I didn't understand what Suri meant. I looked at him and asked, What? What do you mean by those who should come, and those who shouldn't come? What's going on? Explain it clearly. Su Rue pointed to the dining room and said, You'll understand when you see it. Miss, I'm really worried about you, but I don't have any way to share your burden. Su Rue's words completely confused me. Chapter 161. I looked at the dining room. It was very quiet. This was indeed abnormal. Normally, there would be the sound of parents talking, but there wasn't any. I turned to look at Suri. Suri helplessly shrugged at me. It was obvious that he couldn't do anything about this. I sighed and walked to the dining room. As soon as I entered the dining room, I understood why Suri said that he couldn't do anything about it. Even I couldn't do anything about the situation, let alone him. I couldn't help but feel a headache coming. My family's dining table was very big, but today it was full. My father sat in the middle, and my mother sat on his left. Next to my mother was Xinyao, and next to Xinyao was a little girl. She was talking and laughing with Xinyao. Looking at her age and appearance, she should be Suri's little sister. There was an empty chair next to her, which was probably reserved for Suri. Everything seemed normal, but the two people sitting on my father's right made me speechless. Duanmuke and Han Hao actually appeared at our family's dining table. Duanmuke sat next to my father on his right. There was a chair between Duanmuke and Han Hao. Han Hao sat opposite Suri's little sister. However, the two of them had similar expressions. They looked at the table full of food with a serious expression. I guessed that the smell of gunpowder in the house was coming from them. Su Rue walked past me and went to his seat. Then, he whispered a few words in Xinyao's ear. I saw Xinyao covering her mouth and looking at me with a smile. I looked at the two of them with disdain and walked over. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I just woke up and came late. You must have been waiting for me. My mother raised her head and looked at me. Li Er, you're awake. How did you sleep? Sit down and eat something. Suri brought his little sister and Xinyao to our house to play. Xiao Ke and Xiao Hao also came. They said that they wanted to have dinner together. Look, this is the roast duck that Xiao Ke brought. And this is the bird's nest porridge that Xiao Hao brought. My mother gave me a look. I understood what she meant. She wanted me to be careful with my words and not hurt anyone. My mother looked at me and smiled. There's only one seat left. Why don't you sit there? I nodded and glanced at Duanmuke and Han Hao. The two of them were also looking at me. Although I was extremely unwilling in my heart, I still decided to sit between the two of them. Otherwise, who knows what might happen. I walked to my seat and sat down. The two of them looked at me at the same time. I thought for a moment. I guessed that this meal wouldn't be good. My father looked at everyone and said softly, Come, let's eat. My mother smiled and said, Hurry up and eat. Eat more. If it's not enough, there's more in the kitchen. I asked the chef to make more. Baby, you have to eat more too. You're still growing. I looked at my mother. She was talking to Suri's little sister. Her tone was so affectionate that it made me a little jealous. I couldn't blame her. She had always liked children, and she had always wanted me to have one. Suri's little sister was very cute. Although she was small and thin, her eyes were big, just like a doll's. She was also very obedient. She was much more mature than other girls her age. Although it was my first time meeting her, I liked her very much. I looked at her and asked Suri, Suri, your little sister is much cuter than you. I still don't know her name. Exanyao looked at her little sister and said sweetly, Baby, be good. Tell Sister Xiaoli your name. My face darkened again. Exan, Yao looked like she was taking care of a child. It seemed that she would be a good parent in the future. Suri's little sister raised her head and shyly looked at me. She said softly, Hello, Sister Xiaoli. My name is Susu. I'm 10 years old. Susu was much cuter than Suri. After introducing herself, she shyly hid behind Exai and Yao. I thought that Suri and Susu were still crammed together in their old house. I felt that it was inappropriate. I looked at my parents and said, Dad, Mom, there's something I want to discuss with you. Suri is now my personal bodyguard. According to common sense, Suri should live in our house. He only has one little sister now. Can we let both Susu and Suri live in our house? Father said as he ate. No problem. Later, I'll arrange for the nanny to clean up a room for Su Rue and another room for Susu. If there's anything the family needs to buy, you'll be in charge. Before I could say anything, Suri said, President, that's too troublesome. I'll just share a room with Susu. My mother looked at him and said, Suri, don't refuse at this time. It's rare for Li'er to ask her father for help. You have to accept this favor. Besides, it's not convenient for a man like you to stay with Susu. You can't take care of her well. Let her have a room by herself. That way, I can take care of Susu when I'm free. Also, if Exai and Yao comes to find you, it'll be convenient. After saying that, my mother laughed. Hearing my mother's laughter, I suddenly understood. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Suri and Exai and Yao's faces turned red. It seemed they understood my mother's meaning. With great difficulty, the atmosphere at the table eased a bit. My mother and Exai and Yao kept talking about Susu. They talked happily. My father and Suri accompanied them and laughed. The atmosphere on the other side of the table wasn't too good. On the other hand, it was as if the air had frozen. The three of us didn't say anything, and just ate with our heads down. Of course, I think the two of them were also thinking about something, but they just didn't say it out loud. Just as my thoughts were running wild, a pair of chopsticks picked up a piece of meat and placed it in my bowl. I looked up and saw Han Hao put the meat in my bowl. Then he looked at me and said with a smile, Eat more. I didn't see you eat much. You're eating too little. After saying that, he put some more food in my bowl, and then began to ladle soup for me. I smiled at Han Hao and said, Thank you. I can do it myself. Obviously, I didn't know what to say. After I refused Han Hao, Duan Muke reached out and put another piece of meat in my bowl. He also helped me ladle a bowl of porridge and put it in front of me. His expression was very serious. He looked at me and said, Eat. Han Hao looked at Duan Muke and said, Xiaoke, Xiaoli said she can do it herself. Let's not get her any more food. Look, her bowl is full. Chapter 162. Duan Muke glared at Han Hao. He lowered his voice and said, I know. It's none of your business. Seeing Duan Muke say that, Han Hao shook his head helplessly. I said in a low voice, You two should eat. I haven't asked you why you came to my house to eat. Han Hao sighed and looked at me. I was worried about your health, so I came. It was just in time for dinner, so Uncle and Auntie asked me to stay and eat. I turned and looked at Duan Muke. What about you? Why did you come here? Duan Muke didn't look at me. He just said, same as him. After Duan Muke said that, Han Hao and I were stunned. I helplessly looked at him, and then at Han Hao. Han Hao's face turned red. Obviously, he wasn't happy with this reason. Seeing that the atmosphere between the two of them was getting more and more awkward, I had to find a topic to break the ice. I lowered my voice and said, Okay. If there's nothing else after dinner, you two should go home. It's getting late. Before Duan Muke and Han Hao could say anything, my mother looked at us. She smiled and asked, Li'er, what were you three talking about? Tell us and share it with us. My mother obviously didn't notice the tense atmosphere on my side. I forced a smile and said, Mom, we didn't talk about anything. I didn't know if my mother would believe me, or if she'd noticed something and asked me on purpose. Before I could open my mouth, Duan Muke put down his chopsticks. He looked at my father and mother and said, Dad, Mom, thank you for your hospitality. I came here for something. Then, Duan Muke took out an envelope from his pocket and handed it to my father. He looked at my father and said, Uncle, this is a check for 1 million RMB. Please accept it. Everyone present looked at Duan Muke in a daze. I was also very confused. Was this the breakup fee he was giving to our family? My father looked at the envelope and then looked at Duan Muke. Xiaoke, what's the meaning of this? Duan Muke looked at my father and said, Dad, I heard that you've been financing a project recently. It should be a new project imported from abroad. This project hasn't been done in a yet. I'm very interested. This 1 million RMBs as my financing fee. Dad, tomorrow, I'll arrange my secretary to send you a document. It's about the investigation data. It's very detailed. My father's expression changed. I could feel that his heart was already blooming with joy, but he still tried his best to keep his expression calm. That expression of a smile that wasn't a smile made me feel especially uncomfortable. My father looked at Duan Muke and said, "How did you get this survey data?" I also asked someone to get it, but I couldn't get the detailed information. What I got was what I already knew. Your information wouldn't be the same as what I know, right? Any smart person would be able to understand the hidden meaning in my father's words. If Duan Muke's information was something that my father didn't have, then my father would definitely accept his favor and even obtain the data he wanted. If Duan Muke's information was roughly the same as what my father knew, then it would mean that my father had indirectly rejected Duan Muke's advances. Duan Muke smiled and looked at my father. "Dad, don't worry. I asked my American classmate to help me buy this information from abroad. Of course, the price is definitely higher than the information itself. I think you should understand this. This information isn't very useful to me. But if it's for you, I think it will be very useful." Duan Muke must have done a lot of preparation before he dared to come to my house and try to curry favor in front of everyone. I could also feel that my father was blooming with joy. I turned to look at Han Hao. His expression was very ugly. Yu Xian couldn't bear it, so she reached out and held Han Hao's hand. He froze for a moment, then looked at me and smiled. His smile was very bright. I smiled back at him. This kind of silent encouragement was better than anything else. However, when Han Hao and I looked at each other, Duan Muke's expression changed. He looked at Han Hao and asked, "Xiao Hao, I remember you told me that you also came here to give Mom and Dad something, right?" Obviously, Duan Muke was arguing. He probably did this to put Han Hao on the spot. My mother looked at Han Hao and said, "Aya, next time you young people come to my house, you don't have to buy anything for us. As long as you want to come and play, you can come at any time. There's no need to bring things every time. Seeing you happy makes us happy." Duan Muke looked at Han Hao and said, "Since Mom said so, you should take out the things you prepared." Han Hao still sat there with his head lowered. He clenched his fists tightly. I could feel that he wasn't very happy. At this time, Xinyao whispered to me, "Sister-in-law, what should we do now?" I helplessly shook my head and said to Xinyao, "Let's just act according to the situation. This meal is like a battle. It's too frightening." Han Hao raised his head and took out a pair of bracelets from his pocket. They were sparkling and translucent purple. They were very beautiful. Even an outsider like me could tell that they were good stuff. Sure enough, my mother's eyes were deeply attracted to the bracelets. Han Hao held the bracelets in front of my parents. He looked at them and said, "Uncle, Auntie, I heard that Auntie likes to collect jade. This is a violet jade bracelet that one of my antique friends found for me. I've had it appraised in many places, and they all said it was a fake. It should be good stuff. That's why I brought it this year to Auntie." My mother hurriedly put down her bowl and chopsticks. She took the bracelet and carefully examined it, nodding her head. From time to time, she would sigh softly and say, "It's really a good bracelet." "Xiao Hao, this bracelet must have cost a lot. It's too expensive. Give Auntie a price, and Auntie will reimburse you." My mother lovingly fiddled with the bracelet. It seemed that she really liked it and wanted to take it. Han Hao shook his head and said to my mother, "If Auntie likes it, then take it. I prepared it for Auntie, and it's not some old toy. I just heard that Auntie likes it, and I happen to have connections in this area. Since Auntie likes it so much, of course I'll give it to you. This bracelet suits you very well." My mother looked at Han Hao and smiled. "I'm so sorry for making you spend so much money. I really like it, so I'll take it. Thank you, Xiao Hao, for your thoughtfulness." Hearing my mother praise Han Hao, I glanced at Duan Mu Quebec. His expression had also become very serious. It seemed that he wasn't happy either. Chapter 163. Duanmuke and Han Hao both looked very serious. It seemed that they were really angry. I put down my chopsticks and looked at everyone. I'm done eating. You guys can continue eating. I'm going to take a walk outside. As I stood up and prepared to leave, Duanmuke and Han Hao also stood up. It seemed that the two of them were prepared to be my bodyguards and follow me to the end. I shook my head helplessly. At this time, my mother saw through my thoughts. She said to Duanmuke and Han Hao, Xiao Hao, after we finish eating, let's sit together and chat. Xingyao, accompany Li Er to the garden for a walk. Suri stood up and looked at my mother. Madam, I'll go accompany milady. Xingyao wants to play with Susu. Xingyao looked at my mother and nodded. Okay. Auntie, let Suri go. I bought some fruits on my way here. I'll make a fruit salad for everyone later. Then I'll go out. It wasn't easy for everyone to help me out, so I had to hurry out. I glanced at Han Hao and Duanmuke and walked out of the dining room. Suri followed closely behind me. He didn't say a word. I knew that Suri was very loyal to me. From the first time I saw him, I knew that he was a very worthy friend. Suri and I went to the garden at home. There was a large rose pond here that my father had built for my mother. It was the only one in the whole of a city. It was my father's masterpiece, and also my mother's masterpiece. It was also a symbol of their love. I looked at the garden full of roses, and my heart was in a mess. Suri stood on the side and looked at me. His expression was very calm. It seemed that he was already used to this. While admiring the garden full of roses, I asked Suri, Is there anything you want to ask me? Suri looked at me and sneered. Milady, you know what I want to ask you. I reached out and touched a rose. I lowered my head and sniffed it. It was very fragrant. I sat next to the flower pond and looked at Suri. I don't know what my answer is, but I don't want to give up on these two people, and I don't want to hurt them. Suri walked in front of me. He reached out and touched my face. He said softly, Shaoli, do you remember the first time we met? It was in the detention room at the police station. You should remember it. My face suddenly turned red. I looked at Suri and smiled. Why do you make it sound so ambiguous? It's not like we're going to part forever. Shaoli, when it was just the two of us, I didn't want to call you miss, because I felt that this word separated us. When I first saw you, I thought that you were a very good woman. Your eyes were clear, but your eyes revealed a calmness, as if you had experienced a lot of things, which made me have a whole new level of respect for you. At that time, I thought that I must be friends with you. Although our statuses were very different, I still wanted to give it a try. I thought that you were a very special friend. But after seeing so many things happen between you and Duanmuke, it slowly erased your calm personality. You became prone to tears, you became irritable, and you even became hysterical. I saw all of this, but my heart ached. You shouldn't be like this. You became weak. Although after the divorce, you did everything you could to hide the pain in your heart, but I could still feel that your heart was bleeding. Shaoli, if there's something that you're holding back, you must say it out loud to feel comfortable. I didn't know why, but after hearing Suri's words, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing down my face. I turned around so that Suri wouldn't see me crying. I calmed down for a while. With my back facing Suri, I said, Suri, it's not that it's hard for me to choose, it's that I can't choose. The person I love, I can't be with him, because the person I love can't come back to me. I've thought about it a lot. I'm doing all of this for his good. I don't want to give up, but I don't know what else to do. It's good to just look at him from afar. At least the best gift he has given me is the baby in my stomach. That's enough. Suri, I understand what you mean. I don't want to be strong now, but I have to be strong. There are still many things that I need to do. Suri turned me around. He looked at me and smiled. What are you going to do next? I sighed. Let's see what these two ancestors want to do next. I'll just play along with them. Besides, I don't have much time left in the country. I'll just play along with them. It's so fun. Sometimes it's good to see them bicker. On the surface, it looks like they don't get along, but in reality, they have a very good relationship. Suri nodded and looked at me. Shaoli, I'm very grateful to you. Not only did you solve my work problem, but you also solved my family problem. You didn't dislike my identity. And you're still as good to me as before. You gave me opportunity after opportunity to work hard. Through you, I met Xinyao and successfully pursued her. Thank you so much. I looked at Suri and smiled. You don't have to say that. You're also very outstanding. You've done a lot of things for me. Now my father appreciates your ability. I've told him that he'll give you a promotion. This way, your standard of living will improve, and you'll have more savings. When the time comes, you'll at least have enough money to propose marriage to the Duanmu family. Although I know that the Duanmukei's parents don't particularly care about money, they all want their daughter to marry a reliable man, right? You have to have confidence in yourself. We, the Red Minghui, will definitely be loyal to you. Suri smiled and looked at me. He reached out and patted my head. Silly, you should take care of yourself first. I can handle my own matters. I'm going to find Xinyao. Do you want to go back? I shook my head and looked at Suri. You go back first. I'll stay here for a while. Suri sighed. He took off his jacket and put it on me. He patted my shoulder and smiled. Then he turned and left. I stood by the rose pond, feeling the night breeze. I felt a lot more comfortable. After I told Suri my thoughts, I felt a lot more at ease. I looked at the roses and felt very comfortable. I touched my belly and thought about the baby growing day by day. I felt motivated. I had to live for myself. I didn't want to let those insignificant emotional entanglements affect my mood. Chapter 164. I sat on the edge of the rose pond and was in a daze when someone walked out of the house. The person walked over to me. When he got closer, I saw that it was Han Hao. Han Hao looked at me with a serious expression. It seemed that he wasn't comfortable being in the house with Duanmu Quebec. He walked over to me and said, "Why isn't Suri with you?" I looked at him and said, "Suri went back first. I wanted to stay for a while, so I stayed." Han Hao sat down next to me. He lowered his head and said softly, "Shaoli, I suddenly feel that I'm not good enough for you. I'm starting to feel that I can't give you the life you need. Tell me, what should I do?" I turned to look at Han Hao. "Why are you suddenly saying that?" Han Hao raised his head and looked at me. "Shaoli, you still love Xiaokei, don't you?" My eyes flickered. I didn't know how to tell him, how to explain it to him. Han Hao's eyes were filled with tears. It was the first time I had seen him so helpless. Han Hao hugged me and patted my back. "Shaoli, don't worry. I won't give up. I believe that I have the ability to make you my woman. I definitely will. I will definitely make you fall in love with me." "Han Hao, you're wrong. Shaoli is mine. No matter in the future or now, Cold Glaze only loves me." A voice came from behind a tree in the park. Then a figure walked out. It was Duanmu Quebec. He stood in front of us and looked at us with a serious expression. Han Hao and I stood up. The three of us just stood there like that. Duanmu Kei and Han Hao's eyes looked especially serious. Black lines appeared on my face. I sighed. I reckoned that the battle for favor between the two of them would start again in a while. Duanmu Kei looked at me and said, "It's windy outside. Why are you still standing here? Hurry up and go inside." Before I could speak, Han Hao reached out and hugged me. He looked at Duanmu Kei as if he was showing off. He said softly, "Don't worry. She has me. She won't feel cold." Han Hao didn't let go. He hugged me tightly. I looked at Duanmu Quebec. His gaze was even sharper. Duanmu Kei smiled coldly. He looked at Han Hao and said, "With you here, she will feel even colder. You should let her go." Duanmu Kei pointed at Han Hao. It looked like he was warning Han Hao. Han Hao looked at Duanmu Kei and smiled coldly. Then he suddenly reached out and pulled my face. In front of Duanmu Kei, he kissed me hard on the cheek. I was stunned. Not only was I stunned, but so was Duanmu Quebec. After Han Hao kissed me, he turned to look at Duanmu Quebec. My face was covered with black lines. I didn't know what to do. Duanmu Kei looked at me, and then at Han Hao. He walked in front of us. Their eyes met, and the atmosphere became very tense. Duanmu Kei reached out and grabbed my arm. He pulled hard and pulled me into his arms. He hugged me tightly and looked at Han Hao as if he was threatening him. I was a little flustered. I was very angry. I struggled with all my might to shake off Duanmu Kei's hand. I stood at the side and looked at the two of them. You two can fight, but don't drag me into it. I don't want to be involved in your fight. Xiaoli is right. This is a matter between the two of us. Don't drag anyone else into it. Han Hao looked at Duanmu Quebec. It looked like he was determined to fight Duanmu K to the end. Duanmu K looked at me, and then at Han Hao. Didn't you say you wanted a fair competition? You were the one who put Xiaoli in the middle first. Everything I did was for Xiaoli's sake. I never wanted to make her sad. I also hope that I can use my actions to show that I really like her, and that I really want to be with her. Han Hao looked at Duanmu Quebec. Are you touching your conscience when you say that? Haven't you hurt her enough times? Yes, you might want to be with her now. But what about the past? Have you forgotten what you did to her in the past? That time, you made her fall down the stairs. Do you know that you almost... Han Hao. As soon as I heard Han Hao's words, I interrupted him. Don't talk about it. It's all in the past. I looked at Han Hao, hoping that he would be rational and understand why I interrupted him. Han Hao looked at me, and then at Duanmu Quebec Xiaokei. I know that my personal conditions can't compare to yours. I don't have a good family background like yours. I don't have a noble status like yours. I don't have money like yours. And I definitely don't have power like yours. But I think that when it comes to feelings, everyone is equal. You like Xiaoli, and I like Xiaoli. You can use your own methods to please the people around Xiaoli. And I can do the same. Isn't this all equal? Duanmu K sneered. He looked at Han Hao and said, I didn't say that I was against fair competition. You don't have to rely on your good relationship with Xiaoli to get close to her heart, to do whatever you want to her. I'm very angry that you tried to touch her in front of me, but I don't think you can beat me if we really fight. Listening to Duanmu K's words, it seemed that he was going to fight Han Hao here today. I felt that something was wrong, so I quickly stopped him. Stop. The two of you are enough. Do you still think you're a child? How old are you? You're already adults, yet you still want to fight. Don't you feel ashamed? Duanmu K glanced at me, then looked at Han Hao and said, That's right, we can't fight here. Let's go back to that little park. I won't give in to you on this matter. Duanmu K's stubbornness gave me a headache. I glared at Duanmu K and said, Enough. Haven't you caused enough trouble? Xiaokei, did you forget what you said to me last night? Weren't you very grateful to Han Hao for staying by your side all these years, and doing so many dangerous things for you? Why are you turning against your brother because of a woman? I turned my head and looked at Han Hao. You too. Don't you know what kind of body I'm in right now? You still want to piss me off with Xiao Quebec. You two are in cahoots, aren't you? You did it on purpose. Seeing me lose my temper, Han Hao and Duanmu K both froze. They looked at each other, and then as if they understood something, they walked to my side. Like two children who had made a mistake, they lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at me. Han Hao was the first to speak. Xiaoli, I was wrong. I was too stubborn, and didn't consider your feelings. Chapter 165. When Duanmu K heard Han Hao's words, he changed his attitude. He looked at me and said, I was wrong, Xiaoli. I didn't consider your feelings. I won't do it again. Looking at the two of them, I let out a long sigh. In a soft voice I said, It's getting late. You two should go home. If you don't have anything to do, don't come to my house for the next 2 days. Also, Xiaokei, the gift you gave my father is too valuable. I can't accept it. When I have time, I will convince my father to give it back to you. Xiao Hao, thank you for giving my mother such a beautiful violet bracelet. I heard that it's a treasure that your family keeps in the bank. It should be priceless. Duanmu K and Han Hao wanted to interject, but I gestured for them to stop. The two of them stood in front of me, looking at me with a puzzled expression. Seeing that the two of them had quieted down, I continued. I understand what you two mean, and I also understand that you two are doing this to please my family. I also understand that you two really like me. But right now, I really don't have any plans to find a partner. I still have more things to do. So for the next period of time, I won't put my personal feelings as the most important thing. Duanmu K looked at me and said, I understand what you mean, but you can't not get married for the rest of your life. You can't reject other people's pursuit of you for the rest of your life. That's not realistic at all. I know that Xiao Hao and I acted a little too hastily, but you can't stop our feelings for you. You can't stop us from pursuing you. Han Hao looked at me and nodded. Xiaoli, I understand what you mean. I also understand how you feel. I was too hasty in this matter. I'm afraid. Han Hao stopped talking. I knew what he wanted to say. He was afraid that he would lose me. He was afraid that Duanmu Ke would steal me away. I looked at the two of them and smiled. All right, let's go back. It's getting late. I should go back and rest. If there's anything else, we can talk about it later. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Then I turned and left the garden. I walked towards the living room. The roses in the garden were blown by the wind, as if questioning me. Questioning why I didn't make a choice. Why I didn't follow my heart and pursue my own happiness. I didn't know if the two of them had left or not. And I didn't want to know. I walked into the living room. My parents had already returned to their rooms. Only Suri and Xinyao were playing with Susu. When they saw me return, they greeted me. Xinyao walked to my side. She pulled my arm and said, Sister-in-law, I just saw my brother and Han Hao go out. Did they go to find you? What did you say? They didn't quarrel? I shook my head and looked at Xinyao and said, That's not it. It's just that the two of them are too passionate. I can't stand it. Oh right, it's already so late. Why haven't you come home yet? It's too late. It's not safe. I turned and looked at Suri. Suri, take Xinyao home later. Otherwise, I won't feel at ease. Xinyao pursed her lips and looked at me. I'm not going home. I just called my mother and told her that I'm going to stay at sister-in-law's house tonight. She agreed, so I'm going to stay here tonight. Looking at Xinyao's cute appearance, I shook my head helplessly. All right. I don't know what to do with you. The nanny has already prepared Susu and Suri's rooms. I don't think your room has been prepared yet. How about you share a room with me tonight? We don't dislike each other, and the bed is big enough. I'll go prepare a blanket for you later. Okay. It's decided then. Wow, this is the first time I felt so excited about not staying at home. I'm so happy. Xinyao happily swung my arm and smiled. Suri stood to the side and looked at us, his expression serious. He walked over to us and reached out to pick up Xinyao. Looking at Xinyao, he said, Milady is pregnant now. If you don't know your limits, I won't feel at ease with you living with Milady. You should be good and stay with me. If you really affect Milady's baby and your brother finds out, he'll tear you apart. Hearing Suri's words, Xinyao immediately became obedient. She leaned into Suri's arms and nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. I shouldn't disturb sister-in-law's rest. What she needs the most right now is to rest. Xinyao looked at Suri and said, Okay, since you're so obedient, I'll reluctantly squeeze in with you tonight. Suri put Xinyao down and lovingly stroked Xinyao's hair. Seeing the two of them so loving, I suddenly felt envious. I sat on the sofa and looked at the two of them. Milady Duanmu, isn't this decision a bit too natural? Don't tell me the two of you have already. Huh? I guessed right, didn't I? Xinyao's face immediately turned red. She hid in Suri's arms and secretly glanced at me with one eye. Suri's face also revealed an awkward expression. He looked at me and said, Milady, you guessed wrong. Xinyao and I haven't done anything but you know. Suri helplessly covered his face with his hand. I could faintly see him secretly laughing. I couldn't help but laugh. Haha, it's okay. We're all adults, so I understand. Do you need me to prepare some necessities for you? Ha ha ha. I laughed so hard that I was out of breath. I didn't care about my image anymore. Looking at their bashful appearance, I suddenly felt that it was very interesting. Hearing my words, Xinyao's face turned even redder. She tightly clenched her fists and secretly glanced at me. Sister-in-law, you're so naughty. I haven't thought about what would happen. I don't have any experience. I'm so shy. Let's change the subject, okay? Suri also followed suit. That's right. Milady, I've been led astray by you. I really don't want anything to happen between us. I just want her to have a place to sleep. Tidying up a room is too troublesome. It's better to squeeze in with me for the night. I walked over to Suri's side and gently patted his shoulder. It's okay, I understand. If you need anything, just come find me. I promise I'll prepare everything for you. Good luck. You must get Xinyao. I looked at Suri. Although I wanted to control myself and not laugh out loud, I still couldn't help it. I laughed evilly. Xinyao shyly covered her face and sat on the sofa. Her face was red, which was very beautiful. Indeed, we were all adults. It was normal for a man and a woman to have sex. I was the happiest when Suri and Xinyao were together. Chapter 166. The next morning, when I woke up, I hadn't gotten used to the fact that I was back in my own house. The helpless feeling in my heart was hard to bear. I washed up and went downstairs. Strangely, the entire living room was empty. There wasn't a single person in sight. At this time, the nanny walked past me. I grabbed her hand and looked at her. "Auntie, am I the only one left in the house? I didn't get up very late. How come everyone's gone?" The nanny looked at me and said, "Young miss, Master and Madam left for the company early in the morning. They said they had an urgent meeting." "Did they say something about the meeting?" I suddenly felt a bit nervous. "Did something happen at the company?" The nanny shook her head. "No, they didn't. It seems like they need to work on a project in the United States. They were discussing who to send to take charge of the project." I nodded thoughtfully. Then I remembered Suri and Xinyao. "Right, did you see Suri and Xinyao?" I asked. The nanny thought for a moment and looked at me. "I didn't see Suri and young Miss Duanmu. However, Susu left with Master and Madam's car early in the morning. I saw her carrying a small backpack. Master and Madam must have sent her to school on the way." I nodded and thought to myself, did the two of them have sex all night? I looked at the nanny and said, "Okay, I got it. You should prepare breakfast and put it on the table. Then you can go and do other things. I'm going to wake them up for breakfast." Then I walked towards Suri's room. On the way there, I felt very conflicted. I wondered if I should wake the two of them up. If I didn't, I would ask Suri to accompany me to the company. However, if I woke them up, I was afraid that they would feel awkward if they saw me. Before I knew it, I had already reached Suri's room. After hesitating for a long time, I decided to knock on the door. After all, everyone was an adult, so there shouldn't be any problems. Just as I raised my hand to knock, the door to Suri's room opened. I saw Xinyao standing at the door, rubbing her eyes with a sleepy expression. Suri stood behind her, hugging her, and rubbing his eyes with a sleepy expression. They looked at me. They weren't very awake at first, but they suddenly became alert. Xinyao's face turned red. She looked at me and said, "Ah, sister-in-law, why are you here? Did you come to wake us up?" I rolled my eyes at her and looked at them. "Hurry up and wash up so we can eat breakfast. Suri, take Xinyao back to Duanmu's house first. Then take me to the company. I have something to do." Hearing me say that, Suri immediately became alert. He looked at me and nodded. After the two of them finished washing up, they were completely awake. The three of us ate breakfast in the dining room. Suri asked me while eating, "Young miss, why are you in such a hurry to go to the company? Did something happen?" I shook my head and looked at him. "Not really. The company might want to start a new project in the US branch, and they need someone to supervise it. I just happen to want to go to the US to wait for delivery, so I wanted to ask my parents to give me this job." No. As soon as I said that, Suri and Xinyao both rejected me at the same time. My face darkened as I looked at them. "What's the matter? Why did you reject me so quickly?" Xinyao put down her chopsticks and looked at me. "Sister-in-law, you're pregnant. Why do you still want to work? What if you hurt the baby?" "No, I definitely won't agree." I sighed and was about to refute her when Suri said, "Young miss, I have to stand on Xinyao's side. I think what she said is very reasonable. If you weren't pregnant, you could do whatever you wanted, and we could go crazy with you. But it's different now. In fact, you care about this child a lot. We all know this, so don't worry, we definitely won't agree to let you go." "What are you two doing?" "I'm only going to the US to take care of this job. I'm not going to do it myself. Besides, Uncle Jiang and Jiang Qing are there. They'll take care of me and share my burden. Don't worry, I'll take good care of me and the baby." Suri and Xinyao looked at each other, and then at me. Then Suri said, "Okay, I can take you to the company." As for whether it works or not, that's not up to me. Also, I can take you, but you have to promise me that I'll be by your side when you go to the US. Otherwise, I won't take you. Xingyao nodded vigorously. I looked at the two of them and sighed. Okay, I promise you. I'm speechless. It seems the two of you really had enough fun last night. Early in the morning, the two of you tormented me together. Little Xingyao, I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. Hearing me say that, Xingyao and Suri's faces became very red. It seems I was being too harsh. Forget it, forget it. I don't want to argue with them. After all, I still love them very much. After breakfast, Suri took me and Xingyao to leave the house. The two of us first sent Xingyao back to Duanmu's house. Then, Suri took me to the Red Minghui's hall. Every time I came here, I would feel very depressed. After all, the Red Minghui was very famous in a city. Even the air was filled with seriousness. I stood at the entrance and calmed myself down. Then, I stepped through the Red Minghui's main entrance. It had been a long time since I came here. The main entrance of the Red Minghui was a retro Chinese-style structure. The bright red color was very eye-catching in this concrete city. In the past, there were rumors that the door paint of the Red Minghui's main entrance was mixed with human blood. After entering the Red Minghui's main entrance, there were 4 corridors leading in different directions. At the end of each corridor, there were 2 corridors leading in different directions. I walked towards the first corridor, because at the end of the corridor was the Red Minghui's office building. My father and mother were currently having a meeting inside. As soon as I entered the building, I saw my father's secretary, Secretary Li, standing in the lobby. When she saw me, she immediately walked towards me. She smiled and said, "Young lady, you've come. Please go upstairs first. The chairman and his wife are having a meeting inside." I turned to look at Su Rue and whispered, "You did a good job. If you didn't call, wouldn't I have been stopped by the guards?" Suri looked at me and straightened his collar. He looked at me with a proud face. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. I turned to Secretary Li and said, "Yes, I know they're having a meeting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come here. They should be talking about the American project. Take me there. I have something to say at the meeting." Chapter 167. Secretary Li looked at me. Clearly, she was in a difficult position. "Young miss," she said, "this isn't very appropriate. This is a board meeting, and the president has specifically instructed that no one is to disturb this meeting. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for me to take you in now." I glanced at Secretary Li and smiled at her. Then I walked past her. "Young miss," she called after me, but I didn't turn around to acknowledge her. At this time, Su Rue pulled her back and looked at her. "Your mission is done. Eldest miss will tell the president that you've already stopped her. She won't make things difficult for you. You can go do other things. If there's anything, eldest miss will take care of it for you." Su Rue smiled and looked at her. He patted her shoulder and caught up with me. Suri and I entered the elevator. I turned to look at Suri and smiled. "You have a knack for betraying your teammates. I really don't know what to do with you." Suri looked at me. "Then what can I do? You didn't even look back. She wanted to stop you, so I had to stop her. She was afraid that the president would scold her. I could only say that you took care of everything for her. You can't expect me to take care of everything. It's useless even if I did. You're better than me, better than both of us." I smiled and looked at Suri. I reached out and pinched his armpit. He grimaced in pain and looked at me with an aggrieved expression. "Young miss, why did you hit me so hard?" he asked. "Hard? I don't think I hit you that hard." "I know. You're trying to blackmail me. You're so bad. Xingyao didn't teach you anything good. She actually taught you how to deal with me." I glared at him. Su Rue looked like he was about to cry as he said to me, "Of course not. Xingyao has been telling me how good you are to her. But she didn't tell me anything else. Besides, I don't dare. I realize that I'm really scared that you'll beat me up. You'll hit me too hard. You don't even consider my feelings." Suri's expression was still pained, but he started to act cute in front of me. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. I looked at Su Rue and said, "It seems you're in a good mood today. Last night was pretty good. How about it? Did you do it all night? No, if you did it all night, you probably wouldn't be able to get up. You have to take care of your body and protect me. How about this? After the meeting, I'll go buy you some tonics to nourish your body. After saying that, I laughed. Suri blushed and stood there looking at me. His hesitant expression was even more hilarious. I laughed even harder. Suri blushed and said to me, "Young mistress, you have to promise me that you will keep this a secret for us. I don't want more people to know." I looked at him and nodded. "I can promise you, but why do you have to keep it a secret? Aren't the two of you in love? This is a very normal thing. Everyone is an adult and can understand." The parents are not the kind of people who are particularly conservative. Suri sighed and said, "Actually, I only found out last night that it was Xinyao's first time. Since she gave me her first time, I want to protect her. I'm afraid that if this matter spreads to the media, it won't be good for her or the Kurosawa. So you have to keep it a secret for me." I was surprised to hear Suri say that. I knew that there were many men chasing after Xinyao. It seemed that she was a good girl who kept her chastity. I looked at Suri and said, "Then you have to be responsible for Xinyao. You can't bully her. She's given herself to you. You have to treat her well for the rest of her life. If I find out that you bully her, I won't let you off." "How could I? I'm very loyal. She's also very good to me. She said that she loves me as a person and nothing else. Actually, she and I are like heaven and earth. I'm very lucky to have such a beautiful swan like her." "Okay, what are you going to do about her parents? Shouldn't you take some time to visit her parents?" I looked at Suri. I told him this because I hoped that I could finish this matter for him while I was still in China. I estimated that it would be a few years before I returned to China. Suri thought for a moment and said, "I've thought about it, but I don't know how to do it. Do I have to prepare a greeting gift? I'm lacking in this aspect." I looked at Suri and said, "How about this? While I'm still in China, you pick a date. As for the greeting gift, I'll ask my mother to prepare it. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to think about what to say when you meet Xinyao's parents. Parents want their daughter to marry a good man who loves and cares about her. You just have to promise them that you'll treat Xinyao well wholeheartedly and won't let her suffer. You just have to show your determination. I think Xinyao's father really likes you. Don't worry, don't put too much pressure on yourself." "Okay, I understand. I've unknowingly caused you more trouble." Suri looked at me and scratched his head. I looked at him and smiled. "You just have to follow me for the rest of your life. Don't even think about changing jobs or becoming someone else's bodyguard. Not even Xinyao can do it. You can only follow me." Suri looked at me in surprise. Then he nodded and said, "Of course." Suri and I chatted in the elevator for a while before we arrived. When we walked out of the elevator, we saw a young woman standing at the entrance. Judging from her clothes, she had a red Minghui badge on her chest. She should be an employee of the red Minghui. When she saw Suri and I walk out, she immediately came to greet us. She looked at me and said softly, "Excuse me, are you Miss? Secretary Lee asked me to come and greet you." At first glance, I could tell she was a new employee. It was probably her first time seeing me. She was trembling all over. I patted her on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry." I patted her shoulder and said, "It's okay, you go do your work. I'll go by myself. Also, you don't have to be so scared when you see me. Go do your work." I smiled at her and walked towards the meeting room. Su Rui followed closely behind me. When we arrived at the conference room door, the blinds were closed. Obviously, this was a very private meeting. I turned to look at Suri and said softly, "Suri, wait for me in the lounge outside. I'll go in alone." Suri nodded and looked at me. "Okay, don't get too worked up. If there's anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it." Then Suri left. Looking at Suri's departing figure, I calmed my mind and turned to knock on the conference room door. Then I pushed the door open and walked in. Chapter 168. When I entered the conference room, I saw that except for my parents, all the senior members of the Red Minghui were sitting in the room. I pushed the door open and entered. Everyone in the room looked at me. My father looked at me and said, Li'er, why are you here? We're having a board meeting. You can go out and wait for us. I looked at my father and went straight to an empty seat. I sat down. Everyone looked at me and said softly, Dad, I'm also here for the meeting. I know you're discussing who will be in charge of the new project in the United States. My father and mother looked at each other. Then they looked at me and said, Li'er, what do you think? I looked around at everyone in the room. Then I looked at my father and said, Dad, let me do this. No. As soon as I said that, my mother blurted out. She was the first to object to me going. My father looked at me and nodded. I agree with your mother. You're not fit to take on such a stressful job right now. Don't even think about it. I won't let you do it. I looked at my father and smiled. Dad, Mom, can you listen to my point of view first? Uncles here can also listen to my point of view. I have very good reasons to prove that I am the most suitable person to be in charge of this project. At this time, Uncle Bai looked at my father and said, Old Lung, let Li'er talk. My father looked at me and nodded. I sat there and said, There are a few reasons. First, I am the head of the American branch. I should be responsible for everything in the United States. Although I have returned to China, I have plans to go abroad in the near future. Second, I have a wide circle of contacts in the United States. It is relatively convenient for me to deal with things. Third, I know the relevant legal system in the United States, so that our project can be carried out smoothly in the United States. Fourth, I have a group of very outstanding employees, such as Uncle Jiang, Jiang Qing, and so on. They are all old employees who have been loyal to the Red Minghui for a long time. Finally, because of my personal feelings, I want to go abroad for some time. Just these few reasons alone prove that I am the most suitable candidate. After listening to me, there were already people discussing it in private. My mother and father also started talking. After a while, my father looked at me and said, Li'er, it's not that your mother and I don't want you to go, but with your current physical condition, if you go there, you won't be able to withstand that much work pressure. I looked at my father and said, Dad, please promise me. The father and mother looked at each other. Then the father looked at everyone and said, Well, let's call it a day. When I've made a decision, I'll call for another meeting. Everyone stood up and walked towards the door. At this time, my father looked at Uncle Bai and said, Old Bai, you stay here. Uncle Bai sat down again. When most of the others had left, my father looked at me and said, Li'er, why do you have to go? Don't you know you're pregnant? Let's not talk about the fact that there will be no one to take care of you in the United States. What if the work pressure affects the baby's development? What if your body gets injured? My mother nodded and said, Li'er, it's not that we don't want you to go, but we want you to take care of your body. Don't think about the matters of the Red Minghui. Leave them to us. The most important thing for you to do now is to take care of your body and give birth to the baby healthily. I looked at my parents and said, Dad, Mom, I don't want to hide it from you. I want to give birth to the baby in the United States. If I stay in China for a long time, I won't be able to hide the fact that I'm pregnant. I don't plan on returning the baby to the Duanmu family. So Dad, take this opportunity to let me go to the United States. If you're really worried that I'll be too tired, can you arrange for someone to accompany me and a woman to take care of me? What about Suri? If you're going, won't Suri go with you? My mother asked me. I sighed and said, Mom, Suri is going to the Duanmu family to confess his feelings to Xinyao's parents. He wants to mention to Xinyao's parents that he and Xinyao are together. I think this is a good thing. If the two of them really get together and Xinyao's parents agree, they may prepare for marriage. If he goes to the United States with me, it will take at least 2 or 3 years for him to come back. That will delay the two of them. So Dad, please send someone to accompany me. At this time, my father looked at Uncle Bai and asked, Old Bai, what do you think about this matter? Uncle Bai thought for a moment and said, Old Lung, I still agree with Li'er's idea. Li'er is right. As long as someone is by her side to take care of her, there shouldn't be any problems. As for the project, old Jiang and his son are there, so there shouldn't be any problems. We just need to keep an eye on them, and there shouldn't be any problems. My father thought for a moment, and then dialed a number. He said softly, "Call the Red Baron in." My father hung up the phone. My mother nodded and said, "Yes, it's good to let the Red Baron go." While I was thinking about who the Red Baron was, the door of the meeting room was pushed open. A girl walked in. She looked delicate and pretty, but her expression was very serious. She was thin and small, and she was wearing a red dress. She walked into the meeting room and looked at my father. "Chairman, you called for me?" My father raised his head and looked at her. "Red Baron, this is young Mississippi." The Red Baron looked at me and nodded. My father continued, "In a few days, our company will start a new project in America. Young Miss, as the person in charge, will go to America. Because young Miss is pregnant, there may be many inconveniences for her. The company hopes to arrange for you to accompany young Miss and accompany her to America." The Red Baron didn't even think about it. She looked at me and said, "Okay, I understand." My father sighed and looked at me. "Le'er, you and the Red Baron can go out first. Old Bai and I have some other things to discuss." I nodded and walked out of the meeting room. The Red Baron followed behind me. Her face was expressionless as usual. It seemed that she was also an iceberg girl. I suddenly remembered that Suri was still waiting for me in the lounge. I walked over. Suri was sitting there flipping through a magazine. When he saw me, he quickly stood up and looked at me. "Young Miss, you're back. How was it? Did the discussion go well?" I nodded and looked at him. "All right. This is the Red Baron. My father arranged for me to go to America with him. This is Suri, my personal bodyguard." Suri nodded and looked at the Red Baron. "So you are the Red Baron." Chapter 169. I looked at Suri and asked, "Why? Do you know her?" Suri nodded and looked at me. "Yeah, I know her. She's a member of the Red Minghue's hired thugs, who are directly under the president's control." "Then why don't I know about this? Logically speaking, I should know everything about the Red Minghui." The Red Baron looked at me and said, "Miss, it's not strange that you don't know about it. After all, this organization hasn't been established for long. And it's rather secretive, because the president doesn't want too many people to know about it. There are still many things he needs the president to do. Of course, what Suri just said isn't completely correct. We're not just a hired thug organization. We can do quite a lot of things. Also, the president sent me and Miss to America, not only to protect her, but also to take care of her. Miss is pregnant, and needs a woman to take care of her. That's the president's true intention." When Suri heard the Red Baron's words, he looked at me and said, "Miss, you're really going to America? Did the president agree?" I nodded and looked at Su Rue and said, "Yes, I already told my father. This time, I won't let you accompany me. You don't need to ask me why. It's rare that you're preparing to propose marriage to Xinyao's family. This matter is much more important than going abroad with me. You have to complete this matter, and then tell me when you get married. If my physical condition allows, I will definitely rush back. You have to remember what you promised me. Do you understand?" Suri sighed. "All right, I understand. Let's go home. Red Baron, are you coming with us?" The Red Baron looked at me and said, "I'll go home and pack up first. Then I'll go to Mrs. House myself." Suri thought for a moment and said to the Red Baron, "How about this? I'll send Miss home first. Then, if you need me to pick you up, give me a call. The administrative department has my contact information." The Red Baron nodded. "All right, I understand. Thank you." Then the Red Baron turned and left. Watching the Red Baron leave, Suri looked at me and asked, "Miss, do you think she's reliable?" I shook my head and looked at Suri. I haven't seen through her yet. She's an unpredictable woman. I don't know what kind of person she is. Let's take our time to think about it. I softly asked, "By the way, Suri, do you know the Red Baron's real name?" Suri thought for a moment and said, "Let's go. Let's go home first. Someone will give me a call in 10 minutes. I looked at Suri suspiciously. Suri smiled at me and pulled me to the elevator. Suri and I left the club, got into the car, and started to head home. As expected, about 10 minutes later, Suri's phone rang. He answered the call while driving. I couldn't hear what he was saying to the person on the other end of the line, but he kept saying, It seemed that the person on the other end of the line was explaining something to him. After 2 minutes, Suri said, "All right, I understand." Then he hung up. I looked at Suri and asked, "How was it? Did you find out more about her?" Suri nodded and said, "I did. Her real name is Linyu. Red Baron is her code name in the thug organization. The code names are arranged according to a rainbow. She's number 1, so she should be the best in the organization. She was an orphan when she was young. 20 years ago, your father sponsored an orphanage. He selected a group of outstanding children from the orphanage and trained them systematically. That's how the thug organization is now. This is considered the Red Minghui's top secret." I thought for a moment and looked at Suri. "How did you find out? How did you find out about such a secret? Did you steal our organization's confidential files? Heavens, if my father finds out, he'll skin you alive." Su Rui turned his head and looked at me with a dark expression. He said to me extremely calmly, "Idiot. Am I that stupid? Her situation was told to me by Qing Ju, who was in the same thug organization as her. As for how the thug organization was established, I only heard about it by chance. I can only tell you this, who else can I tell? I can't even tell Xingyao. After all, she's a Kurosawa citizen. I'm not stupid. Do you think I'm you?" Listening to Suri's words, I nodded thoughtfully. It seemed to make sense, but I also felt that something was wrong. I thought for a while and finally understood. This guy was calling me stupid. I glared at Suri and said loudly, "You're the stupid one. You're the stupidest." Listening to me, Suri laughed and said, "You're so stupid. It took you so long to realize. They say that pregnant women become stupid for 3 years. I didn't believe it. I didn't expect to see it today. It's too accurate. You become stupid too quickly." I glared at him again and said, "I won't joke with you. Seriously, have you thought about when you're going to meet Xinyao's parents?" "Yeah, I talked to Xingyao on the phone. I said I'll go the day after tomorrow. I suddenly feel very nervous. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid that her parents won't agree." Suri was still worried. I looked at Suri and said, "Okay, you don't have to worry. Didn't we already set the date? I'll go with you on that day. I'll ask my mother about the gift in the afternoon. It should be ready in a day. You don't have to worry, it will definitely happen." Suri sighed and said, "I'll take advantage of your auspicious words. I really hope it will happen. She gave her first time to me. I have to be responsible for her. I promise to take care of her for the rest of her life. I definitely won't go back on my word." I nodded and didn't say anything. When we finally got home, I felt a bit tired and went upstairs to rest. Suri probably went to arrange the Red Baron's matter. I felt reassured leaving it to Suri. I decided to sleep first and wait for my parents to come back before talking to them. As I lay on the bed, I suddenly thought of Duan Muke and Han Hao. It seemed that they were quite peaceful. I didn't know what they were doing right now. Unconsciously, I felt sleepy and gradually fell asleep. This sleep was very deep. I didn't know how long I slept, but when I woke up, it was already afternoon. I tidied up a bit and walked out of the bedroom. I happened to see my parents sitting in the living room, chatting and laughing. I didn't know what they were talking about. I went downstairs and looked at my parents. "Dad, Mom, you're back. I have something I want to talk to you about. Is that okay?" My mother raised her head and looked at me. "Li-er, you're awake. Did you sleep well? Why didn't you sleep a bit longer? Did we wake you up?" Chapter 170. I nodded and sat down on the sofa. Looking at my mother, I said, "Ma, there's something I need your help with. Suri is preparing to propose marriage to Xinyao's family. I don't know what to prepare for a marriage proposal, but you should know better than me. Can you help him prepare it?" My mother smiled. Mother smiled and said, "Okay, that's a good thing. No problem, leave it to me. I'll go out with the nanny to prepare. It'll be ready by tomorrow." While Mother and I were talking about this, Su Rui happened to come in with the Red Baron. Looking at Suri, my mother said, "Suri, you're here. Li-er and I were just talking about you going to the Duanmu's family to propose marriage. Come and sit. See what else you need to prepare. The Red Baron is here too. Come and sit with us." The Red Baron nodded and put his luggage to the side. Then he followed Suri to the sofa. I looked at Suri and then at my father. Dad, there's something else I want to talk to you about. My father nodded and looked at me. I continued. Dad, Suri has been with me for a while now. You know how capable he is. You see, he's preparing to propose marriage to the Duanmu's family. But Suri doesn't even have his own house. In the future, he'll be living with Susu. Do you think you can arrange a house for Suri as his wedding home? If it's not convenient, I can pay for it. My father looked at Suri. Suri's expression froze. He looked at me and said in a low voice, Miss, what are you doing? I can slowly get a house myself. It's too troublesome. I secretly pinched him and motioned for him to stop talking. My father looked at me and said, This isn't a difficult matter, and you don't need to pay for it. The Red Minghui has a residential area with several buildings. It's on the east side of the city, not far from the Duanmu's house. You can contact Secretary Li tomorrow and take Suri there to pick a house he likes. It's not a difficult matter. Hearing my father's words, Suri quickly stood up. He looked at my father and bowed deeply. Thank you, President. Thank you so much. I know that Miss is just saying good things for me. Thank you so much. In the future, I will do everything I can for the Red Minghui. My father waved his hand and motioned for him to sit down. He looked at him and said, It doesn't matter. This is also a good thing. It can also promote our family's relationship with the Duanmus. It also has commercial value, so you don't need to feel embarrassed. The house is given to you, so you can live in peace. Li Er has assured me of your character, and I also believe in your character. Suri's eyes were about to burst into tears. I quickly interrupted and said, Oh, that's enough. Dad, don't scare him. Look at how scared he is. He's about to cry. My father's face instantly became awkward. He quickly changed the topic. All right, let's get down to business. Li Er, since you want to go to the US, then go next week. Secretary Li will arrange the flight tickets and other things. When the time comes, the Red Baron will go with you. Old Jiang will receive you then. I've already talked to Old Jiang about the project through a conference call. He will also tell you the details. Don't tire yourself too much when you get there. First, take care of your body and give birth to the child smoothly. If you have any problems, you can send your mother to the US. I nodded and looked at my father. Okay, Dad. I understand. I've already told Suri that I won't be taking him with me this time. He has to attend to his own matters. That's fine. There are also some things that he needs to do in the company. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for him. You guys chat. I'm going to the study. Then, my father stood up and walked towards the study. At this time, my mother looked at the Red Baron and said, Red Baron, I'll ask the nanny to arrange a room for you later. You and Li Er should get to know each other better. In the future, I'll have to ask you to take care of my daughter. The Red Baron nodded and looked at my mother. Auntie, don't worry. I'll take good care of the young lady. My mother smiled and nodded. Then, she got up and returned to the bedroom. Only Suri, the Red Baron, and I were left in the living room. I looked at Suri and said, Suri, you should go and pick up Susu from school. Suri looked down at the time and immediately stood up. He looked at me and said, Right, I almost forgot about this. I'm going to pick up Susu. I'll be back soon. Then, he turned and ran out of the living room. Only the Red Baron and I were left in the living room. We sat facing each other. I looked at her and said, Red Baron, don't feel uncomfortable in my family. You'll get used to it after a while. My parents are very kind people. You don't need to worry. The Red Baron looked at me and said, Yes, I know. I owe the chairman and madam a debt of gratitude. That's why I'm hell-bent on staying in the Red Minghui and working for the Red Minghui. It seemed like the Red Baron knew that I was trying to find out more about her. She seemed to be a smart person. I smiled at the Red Baron and said, Yes, I don't really want to know about your past. As long as you focus on working for the Red Minghui, it'll be fine. I don't know much about that organization, and my father has never told me about it. To be honest, you must have done a lot of shady things for him. It doesn't matter. My father is a ruthless person. Everything he does is based on his own interests. He might even betray you. Am I right? The Red Baron looked at me and sneered. You're just as the chairman said. You're very smart, and you've guessed the chairman's thoughts correctly. However, I made a bet with the chairman that you wouldn't make a mistake. Even if you're pregnant now, or if you're emotionally hurt, it won't affect your ability to work. I'm sure of that. You can use your intelligence to guess, between you and the chairman, who will I side with? The Red Baron looked at me with a smug expression. I smiled and looked at her. You won't side with either of us. You can't afford to offend either of us. That's why you'll choose to remain neutral. Am I right? If you side with my father, your days in the United States will be difficult. If you side with me, you might lose your position as the ace fighter in the eyes of the chairman. This will be detrimental to your future development. Chapter 171. The Red Baron stared at me blankly for a moment. Then she said, You're really smart. You're right. For everyone's sake, it's best if we don't cause unnecessary trouble. Then why don't you take a guess and see if I'll do as you say? I had already seen through the Red Baron's thoughts. She was a person who only stood in front of her own interests. She had told me all this today to test my bottom line, and also to give me a piece of advice. If I encountered any problems in America, she would definitely report to my father immediately. Of course, if I told my father that she didn't take good care of me, her image in my father's heart might be tarnished. The Red Baron thought for a moment. Then, she stood up and bowed deeply to me. She looked at me and said, Young mistress, I look forward to working with you. The Red Baron looked at me and finally smiled. It was rare that she could smile too. After that, when I talked to the Red Baron again, I felt that our relationship had improved significantly. She was also a talkative person. She told me a lot about her time in Red Minghui. It turned out that she was different from what I had imagined. Everyone in my father's hired thugs were trained from childhood, including now. Before the Red Baron was assigned to me, she was an instructor in the hired thugs organization. She told me that the children she taught were all 7 or 8 years old. The youngest was only 5 years old. These children had to undergo up to 16 hours of training every day. The Red Baron told me that when she was young, she was sent to an orphanage by her relatives because her parents were no longer around. The happiest time for the orphans was when the bell in the orphanage rang. It meant that someone was coming to adopt a child. Everyone would stand in a row in the reception hall and wait for the adopter to come and choose a child. On that day, the Red Baron said that the orphanage had always been filled with children. Red Baron remembered that one day, the bell rang as usual. All the children in the orphanage rushed to the reception hall and stood there honestly, waiting for the adopters to come and choose. This time, the person who came was different from the usual people. It was my father. The dean introduced my father grandly, saying that my father was an investor of the orphanage and had specially come to adopt the children. My father looked at all the children and finally stood in front of them. He picked most of the children from among them, including Red Baron. She thought that this way, Red Baron could get the life she wanted, but she did not expect that all the children, including her, were taken to the Red Tea Party and began cruel training. They stayed there for 20 years. Many of the children in Red Baron's batch could not resist the devilish training and lost their lives. In the end, the few people who survived became the core force of the thugs organization. Just like what my father told me when I was a child, they only learned one idea from the beginning, and that was absolute obedience. After listening to the Red Baron's story, I suddenly felt a trace of sympathy for her. I looked at her and said, Have you never thought of running away? Have you never thought of resisting? The Red Baron shook her head and said, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. What's the difference between this place and the orphanage? Although the president trained us strictly, he also taught us a lot of things. We didn't have to worry about food and water every day. I also had a home of my own with my own hard work. There's nothing wrong with that. I heard from others that a daughter who was adopted from our orphanage was molested by her adoptive father. Her adoptive father threatened to kill her if she told anyone about it. She had no one to turn to and could only endure it. Who would have thought that her adoptive father would become worse and molest her more and more? Later, When her adoptive mother found out about it, her adoptive mother thought that she had seduced her adoptive father and sent her to the police station. In the end, she couldn't bear the pressure and chose to commit suicide. Compared to her, am I not much luckier than her? The president treats us very well. As long as we do what he asks us to do, he will reward us accordingly. I don't think it's a bad thing. I looked at her and said, although it sounds good from what you said, according to your father's habits, there should be a big prerequisite, right? The Red Baron looked at me and smiled. Yes, you are very smart. There is indeed a big prerequisite. That is, I have to work for the Red Minghui for the rest of my life. I belong to the Red Minghui for the rest of my life. If I were to abandon the association, I would have to dedicate my life to it. Wouldn't that be too cruel? I couldn't bear it. It seemed that my father had secretly trained these thugs to do things for him that couldn't be done openly. Rather than saying that they were thugs, it would be more accurate to say that they were killers. If they had sold their lives to the Red Minghui, how could they still have freedom in life? No, I don't. I don't have anyone in this world that I would miss, even in the entire thug organization. At best, we are colleagues, not even friends. We don't need friends. If we have more feelings, it might affect our judgment and delay a lot of things. That's why I decided to stay unmarried a long time ago. It's pretty good. Anyway, I don't know many people, so I definitely won't be able to get married. The Red Baron looked outside. Her eyes were filled with sadness, which made people feel sorry for her. I looked at the Red Baron carefully. Although she didn't like to smile, she was very pleasant to look at when she was serious. Especially when she had a hint of sadness in her eyes, she was very lovable. I sympathized with her. Although my father had arranged for her to stay by my side and monitor me, I still wanted to get along well with her. After all, she was also a pitiful child. I thought for a moment, then looked at the Red Baron and said, Red Baron, how about this? In the future, when we are in front of my parents, let's try to keep a certain distance. That way they won't be suspicious. When it's just the two of us in private, you don't have to be too restrained with me. I also want to get to know you and be good friends with you. I won't harm you. You have to trust me on this. The Red Baron was stunned for a moment. She looked at me and said, Okay, I understand. Thank you. I knew that she was saying thank you from the bottom of her heart. I also understood that she wasn't a bad woman. She just needed love. She needed someone to get close to her heart. The Red Baron and I chatted very happily. Before we knew it, it was already time for dinner. Suri and Susu had also returned. The whole family happily had a sumptuous dinner. After dinner, I felt a little uncomfortable and wanted to take a walk in the garden. I didn't tell anyone and walked to the rose pond in the garden alone. Looking at the garden full of flowers, I thought of Duanmuke again. The deeper the love, the more painful it would be. My heart still couldn't forget him. I would never be able to forget his eyes when he looked at me with such deep affection. Chapter 172. I didn't know how Duanmuke was doing, and whether he and Han Hao had reconciled. They were supposed to be best buddies, but because of me, their lives had been completely disrupted. I sat by the edge of the rose pool quietly in a daze. My mind was a mess, and I was also thinking about Han Hao and Duanmuke. Actually, both of them were pretty good, and I wasn't in the mood to think about who I should choose. I just hoped that the two of them could calm down during this period of time and think clearly. It was time for them to mature. Just as I was in a daze, I heard footsteps coming towards me. I turned my head and saw that it was Su Rue. He walked to my side and sat down. He looked at me and said, What's wrong? What are you doing? Sitting here alone in a daze? Did the baby want to see the roses, or did you want to see the roses? I rolled my eyes at Suri and said, I just ate too much and wanted to go out for a walk. You're making it sound like I had something to do. Suri looked at me and smiled. All right, let's stop fooling around. Let's talk about something serious. When I came back, I saw you and the Red Baron talking. What were you guys talking about? You guys seem to get along very well. I looked at Suri and said, Not bad. She's also a person with a story. It's just that the Red Minghui requires her to not trust anyone, But she's still very kind. I've already reached an agreement with her to help each other. I'll guarantee her position in the Red Minghui. And she'll also guarantee my basic necessities and safety in America. Overall, we're quite compatible and mutually profitable. But I still like her a lot. And when I meet someone suitable in the future, I'll introduce him to her. I also want to marry her into a good family. Her eyes are still very clear, so I believe that she's a good person. Su Rui nodded and said, "Since you've said so, I can only believe you unconditionally. Eldest miss, you know, it's because of your kindness that we'll be dead set on staying by your side." Xinyao also thinks the same. Otherwise, think about it this way. Xinyao is such a personality, she's so demanding. Since she's dead set on following you, she must be following me, because there's something about the two of us that attracts her. In fact, Xinyao is also very kind, she's also very simple. If you treat her well, she'll treat you well. If you treat her well, you'll treat her well. I looked at Suri and said, "How is it? Are you prepared to meet Xinyao's parents?" Suri sighed and said, "I'm really not prepared. I'm still afraid that Xinyao's parents won't agree. My heart is really conflicted. Alas, I've never been afraid of anything before. But now that I've encountered this problem, I'm actually afraid. I'm actually very worried that I won't be able to give Xinyao happiness. Think about it this way. She's the Kurosawa's eldest daughter. And she's also a famous international designer. She's also very famous. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for the Red Minghui taking me in, I'd be even more worthless. Don't think like that. You're already very outstanding now. Well, you don't have to think about anything now. Tomorrow morning, get up early, and come with me to see the house. I've already made an appointment with Secretary Li. Tomorrow morning, after it's settled, I'll immediately arrange for the decoration. Tomorrow call Xinyao. After all, this is the place where you two will live in. It's best to let her participate, including the style of decoration." Suri nodded and said, "All right, I got it. The weather's pretty cold. Let's go in." I nodded. Suri helped me up, and the two of us walked back to the room. The next morning, we got up early. Suri had already made an appointment with Xinyao, so we went directly to pick her up. After we finished breakfast, Suri took me and the Red Baron to the Duanmu's house. Originally, the Red Baron could have rested, but she still wanted to come with us. She was afraid that something would happen to my body. We chatted along the way until we arrived at the Duanmu's house. Just as the car stopped, I saw two people walk out of the house. One was Duanmu K, and the other was Duanmu Xinyao. We got out of Suri's car. When Xinyao saw Suri, she hurriedly ran over and threw herself into his arms. I looked at the Duanmu K and was very surprised. It had only been 2 days since we last met, but I suddenly felt that he had become a lot more haggard. Xinyao looked at me and ran to my side. She hugged my arm and said, "Sister-in-law, you're here. You look good. Thank you for taking us to see the house. I'm very grateful to Uncle Lung and Auntie Lung for preparing a house for Suri. I've also told my parents about Suri. They also want to meet and talk with him. Don't worry, my father likes Suri a lot. I'll be here for him." I rubbed Suri's head and smiled. "It's good. Oh right, I forgot to introduce you. This is the Red Baron." I pointed at the Red Baron. She was standing next to Suri. Xinyao saw that she was very close to Suri, and became a little angry. She pouted and looked at the Red Baron. "Sister-in-law, who is she? Why is she standing next to Suri Gij? She can't be my love rival, right?" I looked at her and smiled. "Silly. She was arranged by my father to stay by my side and take care of me. Don't worry, she's my good friend, not your love rival." Although I explained it this way, Xinyao's expression still didn't look good. The atmosphere became more and more awkward. The Red Baron could tell what Xinyao was worried about. She walked in front of Xinyao and held out her hand. "Hello, I'm the Red Baron. I'm here to stay by Missy's side. Miss Duanmu, please don't worry. I don't believe in marriage, and I won't interfere in other people's relationships. It's nice to meet you." Xinyao looked at her, and then at me. I nodded. She then reached out and shook the Red Baron's hand. The three of them began to chat. Duanmu K stood on the side and watched us silently. I looked at him, and felt that I should greet him. I walked in front of Duan Muke and looked at him. Why are you up so early? Are you going to look at houses with us? Duan Muke shook his head. No, I have something to take care of at the company. Xinyao also woke up, so I came out with her. Are you feeling better? You look good. It seems that Mom and Dad took good care of you. I looked at him and said, not bad. I haven't had much to do recently. I've been staying here all day. You on the other hand look haggard. Did you not rest well? Duan Muke smiled bitterly. Yeah, I've been suffering from insomnia lately. Okay, you guys go back to work. I should go too. Duan Muke took a step forward and suddenly moved in front of me. I didn't know what he was going to do, but my face turned red. Chapter 173. He reached out and stroked my head, planting a light kiss on my forehead. Be careful, he said softly. Don't tire yourself out. With that, Duan Muke left, leaving me standing there in a daze. Duan Muke said goodbye to the others and drove away. I was still standing there with a red face. Xinyao saw my shyness and walked over to me. She put her arm around my shoulder and said, Sister-in-law, my brother has been in a bad mood for the past 2 days. It seems you've given him a big blow. Actually, I feel bad seeing him like this, but I know you have your own ideas. I won't force you to do something you don't want to do, so don't give yourself any pressure. I smiled and looked at Xinyao. Okay, I know. Don't worry. Although Xinyao was next to me, she kept looking at Suri and the Red Baron. It seemed she still didn't trust them. I held Xinyao's arm and said softly, Don't worry. There's nothing going on between them. At most, they're just colleagues. I promise you that. Even if there's something going on between them, I'll definitely get rid of them. What do you think? Xinyao sighed. Okay, I'll believe you. As long as you're not lying to me. I could see that Xinyao's mood wasn't very good. I knew she was just afraid that Suri would leave her. I smiled and looked at her. Okay, cheer up. Let's go and pick out a house. Then, I pulled Xinyao and walked over to the two of them. Suri drove us to the sales office. Since we had arranged to meet Secretary Li there, it would be convenient for us to pick out a house. Suri drove very fast, and we arrived at the sales office in a short while. As soon as we got out of the car, we saw Secretary Li waiting for us at the entrance. We walked over to her. She smiled and walked over when she saw us. Miss, you're here? I nodded and looked at her. Anne, have you sorted out the information on the vacant rooms? We don't have much time. Once we've chosen one, we'll go over to look at it. Then, you can arrange for a renovation company to come over and decorate it. All right, I've already arranged for the information. Eldest miss, let's go in. We followed Secretary Li into the sales office. The salesperson inside warmly received us. She gave us a very detailed introduction of the real estate, and also recommended a few good houses. They all sounded very good. Su Rue and Xinyao were also listening to the explanation seriously. Finally, they settled on a duplex building. The few of us decided to go and see the house. The apartment building was nearby, so we arrived after a short walk. The apartment that we had chosen was really good. It was a small high-rise apartment with an attic. The lighting in the apartment was also very good. Xinyao started looking around the apartment as soon as she entered. Looking at her expression, I could tell that she really liked this apartment. Suri stayed by Xinyao's side. The two of them looked very lovey-dovey. The two of them walked one round before returning to my side. I looked at Xinyao and asked, What do you think? What do you think of this apartment? Do you want to look at something else? Xinyao shook her head. No need. I really like this apartment. I've already thought about what to put and how to design it. It's just to my liking. I turned to look at Suri. What about you? What do you think of this place? Suri looked at me. I'm fine with it. As long as Xinyao likes it, it's fine. I nodded and looked at Secretary Li. Secretary Li, this apartment is fine. Is it too troublesome to go through the formalities? Secretary Li smiled and looked at me. Young miss, this will take some time. Since Miss Duanmu and Suri have already chosen this apartment, I'll arrange the decorations first. As for the formalities, just leave it to me. I'm sure it'll be done within a week. Don't worry, I'll give the keys to the apartment to Suri after the formalities are done. All right, thank you for your hard work. I'll leave this matter to you. We'll take our leave first. Then we all left. As soon as we got in the car, Xinyao seemed to have thought of something. She looked at me and said, "Sister-in-law, do you need something?" It suddenly occurred to me that I had something very important to do. I thought for a moment and said, "I don't have anything to do. But what is it that made you so anxious?" Xinyao said, "Suri is coming to my house tomorrow, but he doesn't even have any decent clothes. I want to take him to buy some clothes. Sister-in-law, you and the Red Baron should come with me and give me some advice." After Xinyao said that, I carefully looked at Suri. Maybe I was used to seeing him in casual clothes, but I didn't notice anything. He really didn't have any formal clothes. I looked at Xinyao and said, "All right, since I don't have anything to do, I'll go with you. Let's just take it as a stroll. Where's the Red Baron? Do you have something to do?" I turned to look at the Red Baron. "I don't have anything to do either. My main task is to stay by your side, take care of you, and ensure your safety." The Red Baron looked at me. Xinyao looked at Suri with a smile and said, "That's great. Let's go. We'll go to the shopping center to buy clothes for you. For such a serious matter, you should wear something formal. That way, my father will think that you're serious about this matter." Suri smiled helplessly and started the car, taking us to the shopping center. After we arrived, the four of us entered the shopping center and began to accompany Xinyao to pick out clothes. The Red Baron looked at Suri and Xinyao for a while. Then, he looked at me and said in a low voice, "Miss, why do I feel that Suri's mood isn't that high? Shouldn't he be happy when someone buys him clothes? Why does his expression look so serious?" I thought for a moment and said to the Red Baron, "I remember now. There was a sneak attack on the three of us here. At that time, they were aiming for Xinyao. Suri was seriously injured in order to protect us. He probably has a shadow in his heart. It's better to be careful. After all, places with a lot of people are very messy." The Red Baron nodded. We followed behind Suri and Xinyao into a shop. This shop specialized in men's clothing. Xinyao was happily picking out clothes for Suri. The Red Baron and I sat in the lounge area, bored out of our minds. She randomly picked up a book and flipped through it. I glanced around, and my gaze was suddenly attracted by a piece of clothing. The style of the clothing was very good. I suddenly felt that this piece of clothing was very suitable for Douanmu, Quebec. I thought for a moment, we've been together for so long, but I've never bought him any clothes. He actually bought me a wardrobe full of clothes. I felt quite sorry for him. I walked to the clothing and reached out to take a look. The texture was pretty good, and the feeling was quite good. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.